Immortal Cultivation family, starting with extreme effort to gain experience. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 201 After the War. Yong's City. It has been 4 days since Lu Ya and others left on the flying boat. Most of the residents have been looking forward to it all day, all looking forward to seeing a huge flying boat. On this afternoon, Xiaoluabo and a few playmates were playing in the open space outside the city lord's mansion, looking up at the sky from time to time. They have done this action countless times in the past few days, and it has almost become a muscle memory. Xiaoluabo wiped the mud on her face, looked up habitually, and then put her eyes on this oil ball in the palm of her hand. But in just a moment, she raised her head again and looked at the sky. At the end of her sight, 3 black dots were slowly moving towards Yong's city. Xiaoluabo, it's your turn. Do you still want to play? A little boy next to her asked. After shouting twice and not waiting for a response, he looked up at Xiaoluabo and found that she was staring at the sky in the distance. Out of curiosity, he also looked up, and then his eyes widened. It's a flying boat. Grandpa and the others are back, Xiaoluabo suddenly shouted and ran towards the Lu clan's land. When the other children heard this, they immediately followed Xiaoluabo and rushed into the Lu clan's land. Soon, the movement in the sky attracted the attention of everyone in Yong's city. One by one, the cultivators climbed up the city wall, drove magic weapons, or flew to the top of the building. They all looked at the flying boat that was getting closer and closer, with a hint of expectation and worry in their expressions. They hoped that the team from Yong's city would return triumphantly, and they were worried that the people who returned would not be from Yong's city. Do you think the city lord and his team succeeded this time? On the city wall, 2 familiar cultivators were discussing in a low voice. Needless to say, the city lord and his team even killed the great real people in the late Jinden stage. It's a foolish dream to rely on the small fish and shrimp in the clan's land to stop our city lord. The cultivator next to him heard the words and immediately replied with full confidence. Besides, if the city lord and his men were not sure, would they go to other families with such fanfare and wipe them out? That's right. If it were me, if I knew the other party's details, I would definitely rush over and kill him without saying a word. That's right. So there's no problem. That's right. It's a pity that my strength is a little lacking, otherwise I would also like to go along and make a fortune. Make a fortune? You probably don't know your own weight. If you really go, you might be gone in a single encounter, and then you will force me to collect your corpse. What are you talking about? While the two were arguing, the 3 flying boats had already flown above Yong's city. The huge hull now had many damaged places, and it was covered with various traces, indicating that this trip was not peaceful. In the side hall of the city lord's mansion, Li Xiaoxu held the core token of the formation and flew to the front of the flying boat, looking at the 3 flying boats with a solemn expression. He held the token tightly, looking ahead through the thin protective shield. When the door of the flying boat opened and 3 figures flew out, he became relaxed, put away the token in his hand, and congratulated loudly. Li Xiaoxu congratulates the city lord and all the Taoist friends on their triumphant return. The 3 people who flew out of the flying boat were Lu Ya, Lu Dingbo and Li Xiaozi. Li Xiaoxu's voice spread throughout Yong's city through the city defense formation. The next moment, Yong's city suddenly erupted in loud congratulations. Congratulations to the city lord and all the Taoist friends on their triumphant return. Congratulations to the city lord and all the Taoist friends on their triumphant return. Amid the congratulations, one after another monks with murderous aura flew out of the door, carrying out corpses one by one, standing quietly behind Lu Ya, silently accepting congratulations. The city defense formation slowly opened, and 3 flying boats flew into the city. The open space in front of the city lord's mansion is now surrounded by people. As the bodies were put down and claimed, there was a moment of crying and shouting. The one crying the most miserably and sadly was the clan member who died in the battle. A group of Kigan cultivators hugged the body of their ancestors and cried heartbreakingly. Even the relatives of the seriously injured foundation builders were secretly wiping tears. Their faces were gloomy. Lu Dingbo took a step forward, took a deep breath, and summoned his magic power to burst out with an extremely loud voice. In Yong's city, rewards and punishments are clear-cut. Lu Dingbo's voice was like thunder, instantly suppressing all the crying and noise. Everyone looked at Lu Dingbo, waiting for his next words. Fortunately, Lu Dingbo did not let them wait too long. After suppressing many noises, Lu Dingbo spoke again. Now there is a foundation building cultivator Zhang Chengte, who died in battle for Yang's city. He has made great contributions, so he is compensated with 200 high-grade spirit stones, exempted from tax for 10 years, and enjoys the protection of Yang's city. If anyone in the future reaches the perfection of key training, he can apply for the City Lord's Mansion to protect the foundation building. The City Lord's Mansion will provide foundation building pills at a 30% discount, with no limit on the number, until another foundation building cultivator appears. After Lu Dingbo's words fell, everyone looked at him in shock. Even some foundation building cultivators were surprised. No one expected that Yang's city could offer such a generous compensation. The clansmen who were originally holding Zhang Chengte's body in great pain were stunned at first, and then ecstatic, but thinking of the current situation, they could only suppress this ecstasy and hold Zhang Chengte's body tighter. Lu Dingbo continued, "Today, Wang Qing and Duan Ficheng, late-stage key training cultivators, have made great contributions, so they are compensated with 10 high-quality spirit stones, provided with a free house, and protected by Yang's city. Their descendants will have the opportunity to buy foundation building pills at a 30% discount, and the City Lord's Mansion will provide foundation building experience to assist in foundation building." As soon as the words fell, there was another round of noise that could not be suppressed. As for the living cultivators, why were there no rewards? Because there was no need. All the living cultivators had full storage bags on their bodies, and there was no need for extra rewards. Lu Dingbo's words cheered up the people who were in grief, and they gradually left with their bodies. Some people were happy and some were sad on this day, but overall, joy diluted the sadness. Next, for several days in a row, Yang's city held more than a dozen funerals, and the incident gradually came to an end. On the contrary, a large number of magic tools, spiritual medicines, and spiritual materials poured into the market of Yang's city, causing the average price of cultivation resources in the city to drop by 20%. In the past 2 days, there were low-level cultivators everywhere, who were all happy and had emptied their savings to stock up on cultivation resources. The elixirs that they had been reluctant to buy before were now affordable, and the magical instruments that they had been reluctant to change before now had many more options to choose from. In addition, the owners of various shops were also grinning from ear to ear. In Wuhou Xianbao Pavilion, shopkeeper Zhang welcomed Lu Yat and Lu Dingbo into his reception room with a smile on his face. "City Lord Lu, Clan Leader Lu, come and try my Ice Cloud Needle Tip, which is the finest spiritual tea that I, Old Zheng, have treasured for nearly 60 years. Everyone, remember to vote." Chapter 202, Cutting Off the Trouble. When Lu Yat and the other man sat down, Manager Zhang quickly took out the spiritual tea that he had kept in his closet. Lu Yat picked up the white jade teacup in front of him and took a sip. Suddenly, a stream of spiritual energy flowed from his throat into his stomach, followed by a lingering clear and sweet taste. It tastes clear and has an endless aftertaste. Good tea. Lu Yat couldn't help but praise it out loud. Ho ha, it's a blessing for this tea to be praised by the city lord, Manager Zhang laughed. Lu Dingbo also took a sip of tea and said casually, "Old Zheng, I came here to thank you. If you hadn't urgently transferred the talisman from the main pavilion, maybe it wouldn't be us sitting in front of you now." "No way, Brother Lu, our Wuhou Xianbao Pavilion adheres to the principle of being responsible for every customer. Not to mention that you are the patriarch of the Lu family. Even if you are an ordinary cultivator, you will be treated like this when you come to my Wuhou Xianbao Pavilion." Lu Dingbo's Old Zheng made shopkeeper Zhang look like he had eaten a ginseng fruit. His face became more ruddy, and he waved his hand and said quickly, "In any case, we will remember this favor. If you need any help in the future, Old Zheng, just ask." Lu Dingbo glanced at Lu Yat and said immediately. Shopkeeper Zhang's eyes flashed with a gleam of light, and the smile on his face became even stronger. This time he finally made the right bet and won the favor of the two people with the most say in Yang's city. It will be much easier to do anything in the future. Shopkeeper Zhang is a man who is good at dealing with people. The atmosphere of the conversation between the three of them is just right. After chatting for a while, Lu Dingbo continued, "Old Zheng, you are from a big sect. I have something I want to ask you." Upon hearing this, shopkeeper Zhang quickly put down the jade cup in his hand and said seriously, "Please go ahead, Brother Lu. I, Old Zheng, will tell you everything I know. It's not a secret question. I just want to ask you, If you have any fortune teller you know, can you introduce him to me? Fortune teller, shopkeeper Zhang repeated, as if thinking about something. Is it because of what happened before? Lu Dingbo nodded, and did not hide it. Before, an important person escaped a disaster by luck. Old Zhang, you must understand the meaning of it, so I came to you specially, thinking that you are knowledgeable and may have a familiar fortune teller. Upon hearing this, shopkeeper Zhang's eyes showed enlightenment, and then he smiled and said, Brother, if you come to me for other things, I may not be able to do it, but for this matter, I have found the right person. After the voice fell, Lu Yang and Lu Dingbo looked at him seriously. Ha, I knew that old Zhang was reliable, Lu Dingbo complimented lightly. Shopkeeper Zhang waved his hand and said, a few years ago, when I was the shopkeeper in Kingsong territory, which is adjacent to Yankai territory, I had the honor of meeting a giant-level fortune teller. His divination skills are the best among all the people I have ever seen. As he spoke, his eyes were filled with nostalgia. It has been almost 30 years since I last saw her. I'm sorry I can't tell you her name, but I have something that can help me find her. It's useless to keep it with me, so I'll give it to you this time to make use of it. As he spoke, shopkeeper Zhang took out a small ball of thread from his storage bag. It's this thing. You just need to transfer your magic power into it, and the other party will sense it. If the other party is willing to see you, then you will definitely meet her within 2 days. This, Lu Dingbo looked at the ball of thread in shopkeeper Zhang's hand and hesitated for a moment. Seeing this, Lu Ye reached out and took the ball of thread from shopkeeper Zhang, bowed and thanked him. In that case, thank you very much, shopkeeper Zhang. I will remember this favor. Ha. Shopkeeper Zhang laughed cheerfully. Lord Lu's favor is much more valuable than this. Besides, this thing is just a treasure in my box, so I might as well take it out and use it, just in time to maximize its value. The three chatted for a while before Lu Ya and Lu Dingbo left. Looking at the backs of the two, shopkeeper Zhang suddenly let out more breath and smiled silently. Walking on the street, Lu Ya and Lu Dingbo talked in a low voice. The matter of the fortune teller has been settled, but we can't put all our hopes on it. We still have to offer a reward. Lu Dingbo nodded. Of course, you don't have to worry about the reward. Yong's city is so big that the people of the 10 Absolute Hall will not let him go. I will send someone to issue a reward for Zuo Feng later. The 10 Absolute Hall has spies everywhere. As long as Zuo Feng appears in front of people, he will definitely not escape the pursuit of the 10 Absolute Hall. Hearing this, Lu Ye felt much more at ease. We still have to do this as soon as possible. Don't worry, Grandpa won't joke with our entire Lu family. Then the two separated, and Lu Ya walked towards the city lord's mansion. Back in the quiet room, Xiao Kang and Xiao Wang rushed over together. Lu Ya comforted the two little ones for a while, then sat on the futon and took out a ball of thread. After looking around, he didn't see anything special. Lu Ya stopped studying and followed what Manager Zhang said, slowly transferring a trace of magic power into the ball of thread. Stimulated by the magic power, the exposed ends of the thread ball began to emit a silvery white light first, and the light continued to extend. When the entire thread ball turned silvery white, Lu Ya felt a strange wave spreading and disappearing into the air. Then the thread ball returned to its original color, as if it was really just an ordinary thread ball. Next, it depends on the opponent. After all, he is a giant and level life master, and his whereabouts are mysterious and unpredictable. It is not something that ordinary people can meet. Lu Ya put the thread ball away and stopped paying attention. Then he took out several jade slips, which were all magic jade slips seized from the Zuo clan. They were also the magic spells that Zuo Feng came to exchange last time. They were Heart Thunder, Purple Sky Thunder, Lightning Spell and Sunflower Water Yin Thunder. Among them, Lu Ya was most interested in Heart Thunder. When Zuo introduced it before, he wanted to find out, and now he finally had the chance. He released his spiritual consciousness and began to read the contents of the jade slips carefully word by word. After reading it, Lu Ya thought to himself, this technique targets the soul, and it has both offensive and defensive capabilities. It is simply impossible to defend against. When the Heart Thunder is mastered, there will be a Heart Thunder guarding the soul. As the spell improves, the number of Heart Thunders will gradually increase, and the intensity will become higher and higher. When the practice reaches perfection, the Heart Thunder can be summoned to attack the enemy's soul invisibly. This kind of thunder is invisible and colorless, making it impossible to defend against. I don't know what kind of improvement I will get after I gain experience. Can it be integrated into my wind and rain summoning technique? Lu Yu couldn't help but look forward to it. Then, Lu Yu closed his eyes and began to comprehend the Heart Thunder Jade slip in his hand. Everyone, remember to vote. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 203, The Corner Dog Jumps Over the Wall, and the Magical Power is Exposed. In a dark corner in Zoo City, a figure with a broken arm was hiding under a pile of debris and breathing hard. A chaotic sound of footsteps came from far away, and the panting sound disappeared immediately. After the footsteps left, it took a long time before he let out a suppressed snort. A pair of angry eyes secretly observed outside through the gaps in the debris. After making sure that there was no one around, he hid under the debris with peace of mind. This person was Zuo Feng, the only seedling of the Zuo family who escaped from Yuan's city. The originally glorious monk in the false pill realm is now like a stray dog, willing to hide under a pile of garbage and escape from being hunted down. And all this happened only 4 days after the Zuo family was destroyed. In 4 days, Zuo Feng deeply realized what it meant to be desperate. Originally, he planned to find a place to heal his injuries first, and then take revenge. Unexpectedly, after he entered a small town, less than an hour later, the killers of the 10 Absolute Halls attacked him. He barely managed to escape the other party's pursuit by using all his means, and originally thought that this was the end. Unexpectedly, this was just the beginning. Since then, hiding, being ambushed, escaping, and hiding have occupied all of Zuo Feng's time, and even the time to heal his wounds has become a luxury. He has been chased and escaped all the way, until now, his right arm has been completely unable to recover. Unless he is lucky enough to obtain a natural treasure that can revive the dead, he can only keep this broken arm in the future. The Lu family only accounted for part of the cause of all this. The destruction of the Zuo family is such a big thing that it cannot be hidden at all, and no one will cover it up. Therefore, all the families and forces that have grudges against the Zuo family applauded. After learning that there is still a proud son of the Zuo family who escaped, these forces will naturally not give up this opportunity to kill him. They all took action, which also caused the fundamental reason why Zuo Feng encountered waves of attacks. Among them, the 10 Absolute Hall was the happiest. Because most people chose them to complete this task, this also led to the fact that there were several families willing to pay for what was originally just one target to be solved. Of course, the 10 Absolutes would not refuse such a good thing, and with such accumulated rewards, even the killers at the Jinden level were tempted. It was also because of this that Zuo Feng desperately ran to the main city of the blood refining sect, the mortal enemy of the 10 Absolutes, in order to avoid being hunted down. At this moment, his hatred for Yuan's city has reached its peak. As night fell, Zhu City was gradually shrouded in darkness. It was not until late at night that Zuo Feng carefully walked out of the garbage dump. After carefully looking around, Zuo Feng quickly left by sticking to the wall. An hour later, in a house in Zhu City, Zuo Feng, who had simply cleaned up, sat at a round table. Opposite him, sat 2 men. One was handsome and fair, and the other was evil and handsome. The handsome young man had 5 slender fingers. In his palm, a small sword was jumping and shuttling like a swimming fish. Fellow Taoist Zuo, I didn't expect that after 5 years of separation, we would meet again in this scene. This is my brother, Mo Ziji. The evil and handsome man next to him smiled and bowed his hands, which was considered a greeting. Zuo Feng's eyes flashed with hostility, and then he took a deep breath and said, Fellow Taoist Mo, I invited you this time because I have an opportunity to offer you. Oh? What opportunity is worth risking your life for? Is it because of this opportunity that the entire Zuo family has suffered misfortune? Mo Ziming looked at Zuo Feng seriously and asked. Unfortunately, there was no expression on Zuo Feng's face. Fellow Taoist Mo and even the entire Mo family will definitely be interested in this opportunity. Zuo's request is not high, as long as I get the protection of the Mo family and help me recover from my injuries. Oh, Mo Ziming grabbed the small sword that was shuttling in his hand and sat up a little straight. Even Mo Ziji next to him showed an interested look. Fellow Taoist Zuo is so arrogant. If it is really as you said, it would not be difficult for you to make a few more requests. However, before that, I hope that fellow Taoist Zuo will carefully consider whether the opportunity you mentioned is worth the price, and don't make fun of us two brothers." At the end, Mo Ziming's eyes showed a hint of cruelty, and he looked at Zuo Feng like a wolf. Zuo Feng heard the words, although he was furious, but he still suppressed it and said calmly, "Whether it is worth it, fellow Taoist Mo will know it as soon as he hears it." Then, Zuo Feng was not big and directly told the story of Yang's city. After a long while, Mo Ziming asked, "According to fellow Taoist Zuo, the lord of Yang's city should have obtained a remarkable inheritance, and it is an inheritance of magical powers, so he has such a fighting power to kill enemies across levels." Indeed, Zuo saw it with his own eyes at that time. Zuo Feng nodded. Mo Ziming pondered for a moment, then looked up at Zuo Feng opposite him, and asked with amusement in his eyes, "Fellow Taoist Zuo, you won't say that all the ancestors of your clan who were in the late Jinden stage were killed by this person, right?" After saying this, Zuo Feng's face finally couldn't hold back and became ugly. "Although he didn't kill them, they were not far away. I can be sure that this thunder method inheritance can at least exert a power that exceeds my own cultivation by 2 levels, so strong," Mo Ziji on the side said in surprise. Mo Ziming glanced at him lightly, then turned to look at Zuo Feng. "If what fellow Taoist Zuo said is true, then this is indeed worth my Mo family's effort." As he said, he pushed a jade card in front of Zuo Feng. "Fellow Taoist Zuo, it's not easy to come all the way. This is a private house that I bought casually. It's usually quiet and no one disturbs you. Fellow Taoist Zuo, go and rest first and heal your wounds." Zuo Feng took the jade card and finally breathed a sigh of relief. After Zuo Feng left, Mo Ziji said excitedly, "Brother, the magical power is passed down. Let's go back to the clan and ask the ancestors to help." "Haha, Mo Ziji, this is my opportunity. What does it have to do with you?" Without outsiders, Mo Ziming faced his younger brother with a cold face, without the slightest warmth. As if he was used to his elder brother's style, Mo Ziji said nonchalantly, "Brother, you and I are brothers, why do you have to distinguish so clearly? What's important now is this opportunity." "Humph, why do you think Zuo Feng found me like a wild dog? If Yang's city is really so easy to enter, do you really think it will be our turn?" Mo Ziji looked arrogant. "He is just a Jinden family, and a destroyed Jinden family. We are a family of 2 unyielding in the Mo family. We can easily destroy a Jinden family like this. They can't do it, but it's not easy for us." Chapter 204 Meeting the Fortune Teller. Mo Ziming sneered, looked at his younger brother, and said again, "I'll say it again, this matter has nothing to do with you. Even if you want to take it, I will go. If I find out that you use family resources and act without authorization, don't blame me for being ruthless." After saying that, the small sword in his hand cut through the space and instantly appeared between Mo Ziji's eyebrows. The sharp breath cut off all the hair on his forehead. Mo Ziji's breath was choked, and then he smiled awkwardly and moved the small sword against his forehead, saying, Okay, I won't participate, and I'll pretend that I don't know about this." "Okay, you'd better really don't know." Mo Ziming took back the small sword and squinted at him. Then, Mo Ziming stood up and walked out. Mo Ziji just looked at him until Mo Ziming left. His originally indifferent smile instantly converged, replaced by a twisted coldness. "Aren't you just afraid that I will make achievements and shake your position? You don't do it yourself, but you don't let me do it." "Humph, I have to do it. Not only do I have to do it, but I have to do it beautifully, so that you and the family will have nothing to say." In the darkness, only 2 green lights flickered endlessly. In mid-air, Mo Ziming looked back at the courtyard below, and the corners of his mouth curled up slightly. "With such a great achievement in front of you, my brother, how can you not be tempted? The opportunity is already in front of you. Don't say that your brother doesn't give you a chance. It depends on whether you can grasp it. Of course, if you underestimate the enemy and fall there, as your brother, I can only inherit the family business with tears, but don't worry, your brother will definitely avenge you." Under the night wind, Mo Ziming gradually disappeared in the air. Yang's city, City Lord's mansion. Luyer spent 2 days in meditation before he barely touched a little bit of the way to the heart thunder. This technique is also not something that can be comprehended in a short time. Let's put it aside for now. Now we still have to focus on the 3 techniques of water control. The right way is to give birth to supernatural powers as soon as possible. Without hesitation, Luya put the jade slip into the storage bag and stood up to walk out. It has been almost 2 days since he activated a ball of thread, but there has been no movement in these 2 days. The feedback from the city gate also showed that no cultivator suspected of being a golden elixir was encountered. This made Lu Ya inevitably wonder if the golden elixir master didn't want to see him. If the golden elixir master really didn't want to see him, then they could only find someone else. I don't know if my grandfather has collected information about other masters. After leaving the city lord's mansion, Lu Ya went down all the way. Xiao Kang circled above his head, and Xiao Wang, a half-grown puppy, jumped around his feet, occasionally lifting one of its hind legs on the side of the road, leaving a few drops of unknown liquid. Passing by the Lu clan's land, looking at the peaceful atmosphere in the clan's land, Lu Ya smiled silently. Unlike before, the Lu family is now rich in resources, and everyone has sufficient resources for cultivation. Therefore, they no longer need to plant spiritual fields and spiritual beasts to exchange resources as in the past. Now they only need to work hard to cultivate. Even the 13th sister, Xia Luobo, who is now almost 6 years old, was taken away to learn to read and write, and to receive enlightenment education. This caused the little ones who were originally carefree and only knew how to play to gradually put on masks of pain on their faces. On the way down, he also met many acquaintances who greeted him, and Lu Ya nodded to them one by one. Going down further, he walked to the commercial street and the market, where there were many more cultivators, including many mortals. Lu Ya performed the breath-retaining technique, and controlled his muscles to simply change his appearance to ensure that the acquaintances could not help but come out, and then strolled around the street casually. Speaking of which, there were not many times in Lu Ya's cultivation career to visit the market seriously. Most of the time, the cultivation resources he needed were prepared by the family, and he could just take them out when he needed them. The market was bustling with people, and the sound of hawking was endless. Looking at this lively scene, Lu Ya couldn't help but recall the scene of going to the market when he was a child in his previous life, which was so similar to the present. After blending into the crowd, Xiao Wang followed Lu Ya closely. It was quite intelligent and knew what to do at this time. This saved Lu Ya from worrying. After walking for a while, Lu Ya suddenly felt that someone was observing him. He turned around and saw a woman who didn't look outstanding at all on the second floor of a restaurant not far away. She was looking in his direction and drinking the wine in her glass in one gulp. Her expression was natural, without the slightest trace of affectation. Lu Ya looked at the woman, and the words of the shopkeeper Zheng inexplicably emerged in his mind, and he already had a guess in his heart. Seeing that the woman no longer looked at him, Lu Ya did not hesitate and walked towards the restaurant. Seeing the customer coming, the waiter in the store immediately came up to him warmly. "Senior, please come in." Looking at this mortal waiter who was about 18 or 19 years old, Lu Ya smiled slightly, pointed to the second floor, and said, "I already have an appointment. Brother, you do your thing, I will go up by myself." "Okay, senior, please." The waiter heard the words and hurriedly agreed. Going up to the second floor, Lu Ya saw the woman sitting by the window at a glance. When the woman saw him, she also smiled slightly and continued to eat the food and wine in front of her. Lu Ya walked to within 1 meter of the table, and suddenly felt that the originally noisy hall suddenly became quiet. He looked around and finally turned his eyes to the woman in front of him. "Junior Lu Ya, meet the senior, sit down." The woman put down the wine glass in her hand and gestured to the opposite side. After Lu Ya sat down, the other party spoke. "I haven't seen Zhang Duabao for a long time. I didn't expect that he would be willing to give you my token." Lu Ya smiled and explained, "This is also what I shamelessly asked for from Zhang," and Zhang was very reluctant at the time. The woman opposite looked at Lu Ya carefully, exclaimed lightly, and shook her head. Seeing this, Lu Ya asked with some doubt, "Why do you look at me like this, senior?" Strange. The woman just muttered a few words and did not answer Lu Ya's question. Although Lu Ya was confused, he had no choice but to ignore this matter and continued, "Senior, I am very grateful for coming here this time." The woman waved her hand. "Don't talk about these, I just had a whim. If you have any needs, just tell me." Lu Ya was stunned. He didn't expect it to be so smooth. He then said, "I want to ask the senior to help me find someone, just this matter." The woman looked at Lu Ya with a strange look in her eyes. It seemed that she didn't expect Lu Ya to use her token in such a big way, just for such a simple thing. Lu Ya nodded and said, "This person is very important to me, so I hope to get his exact location. It's not difficult." After the woman finished speaking, Lu Ya's face lit up. "But, I have another thing you should know. Everyone, remember to vote." Chapter 205 Conversation. Another thing, Luya was puzzled, not quite understanding what the other party meant. Please tell me, Senior. Feng Shuyan put down her chopsticks, glanced at Luya, and said with a playful smile, I can see that it's my business, but you want me to tell you directly. Luya suddenly realized, and then said seriously, I wonder what I need to pay for asking the senior to help. I believe that the other party, a giant and level life master, will definitely not lack ordinary spiritual stones and spiritual materials. Therefore, Luya did not beat around the bush and asked directly. You are straightforward. The woman looked at Luya with satisfaction, and then said, I don't need it now. How about this? You owe me a favor. Luya was slightly startled, and then said, Senior, I am just a foundation building cultivator. I am afraid I can't repay the favor of the senior. The debt of favor is the most difficult to repay, and Luya is unwilling to owe others a favor unless it is absolutely necessary. As such a great city lord, you are already qualified enough to be friends with me on an equal footing. If you continue to be so hypocritical, why don't I leave now? The smile on the woman's face disappeared, and she looked at Luya seriously. Luya bowed and said, In that case, I owe you a favor. The woman nodded with satisfaction and said, My name is Feng Shuyan. Don't call me senior anymore. This is not the place to talk. Let's go to another place. Feng Daoyao, please. Luya and Feng Shuyan walked out of the restaurant together and headed towards the city lord's mansion. In the guest hall of the city lord's mansion, Luya and Feng Shuyan sat opposite each other. Luya poured Feng Shuyan a cup of tea and asked naturally, I wonder what the thing that Feng Daoyao said I was interested in was. Feng Shuyan picked up the teacup, put it to the tip of his nose and sniffed it lightly, with nostalgia in his eyes. Ice cloud needle tip. Zheng Duobao is really willing to give it up. Ha ha ha. This ice cloud needle tip makes manager Zheng feel very painful. Luya drank the tea in the cup in one gulp and replied with a smile. It's really good tea. Feng Shuyan put down the teacup, looked at Luya and said, In the next few days, your city will definitely be attacked. Luya was shocked and asked, Does fellow Taoist Feng have any solution? Of course there is a solution. Feng Shuyan tapped the table with his slender fingers, and Luya consciously filled his teacup. Please speak frankly, fellow Taoist Feng. It's very simple. If you owe me another favor, I will help you solve this matter, Feng Shuyan said naturally. Seeing Luya's puzzled look, Feng Shuyan said angrily, Hey, what's that look in your eyes? I'm a fortune teller in the late Jiandan period. Since I said it, I can definitely solve it. Well, it's not that I don't believe fellow Taoist Feng, but I thought fortune tellers are not good at fighting. Luya pretended to cough and explained with a dry laugh. Haha, goodbye. Feng Shuyan put down the teacup in his hand and pretended to get up and leave. Feng Daoyao, please don't take it to heart. I didn't mean it. Feng Daoyao is generous and will not take it to heart. Luya quickly apologized and finally calmed Feng Shuyan down. I'll be in the city for the next few days. Find me a place to stay. Feng Shuyan rolled her eyes at Luya. For some reason, Luya suddenly felt that her face, which he would forget no matter how many times he looked at it, suddenly became very bright. This strange contrast made him slightly stunned. But fortunately, he reacted quickly and agreed immediately. Okay, I have answered your questions. Now it's my turn to ask you. Feng Shuyan leaned forward and looked at Luya like a curious baby. Being stared at by her like that, Luya felt uncomfortable all over, but he could only bite the bullet and ask, Why is Brother Feng looking at me like that? Strange. I was clearly destined to die young, so why did I suddenly turn around and rise to the top? How strange. Feng Shuyan's words startled Luya, and he could hardly hold back his inner surprise. What do you mean, fellow Taoist Feng? Feng Shuyan did not answer him, but asked, Let me ask you, have you ever experienced a great calamity of life and death before you came of age? Luya's hand pouring tea was as steady as a mountain. After filling the teacup in front of Feng Shuyan, he put down the teapot and said, Fellow Taoist Feng has a keen eye. I did experience a great calamity of life and death. At that time, I was still in the key training stage. In order to break through, I was a little eager for quick success, which almost led to my own death. Fortunately, at the last moment, I turned around and did not lose my life, so that's it. Feng Shuyan suddenly realized, and continued, I didn't expect that you turned a disaster into a blessing and forcibly changed your own destiny. Since then, it's reasonable to rise to prominence. Haha, if fellow Taoist Feng hadn't mentioned it, I would never have cared about it. Lu Ya smiled slightly and brought the matter over. The two chatted for a few more words, and then Lu Ya stood up and invited, "Fellow Taoist Fang, the accommodation is ready, please come in." The two left the reception hall, and Lu Dingbo had been waiting outside for a long time. Seeing the two, Lu Dingbo hurriedly stepped forward enthusiastically and bowed, saying, "Hello, Immortal." Lu Ya introduced, "This is the head of my Lu family, and also my grandfather. Grandpa, this is Immortal Fang." When Fang Shuyan was with Lu Ya, she had no airs at all, but now she was unusually cold when facing Lu Dingbo. Even when facing Lu Dingbo's greeting, she just nodded calmly, which was considered a greeting. Lu Dingbo didn't care at all, but introduced enthusiastically, "Immortal Fang's residence has been arranged. It's not far away. It's quite quiet and shouldn't disturb Immortal Fang." The three of them went together. When they arrived at the destination, Fang Shuyan showed a satisfied look. Yong's city is a cultivation city after all. Other Lu families may not be easy to get, but one or two good caves are no problem at all. Seeing Fang Shuyan's satisfaction, Lu Ya and the others also smiled. "Okay, City Lord Lu, Clan Leader Lu, please go back. If it's not necessary, don't bother me." Fang Shuyan walked into the cave, and his cold voice reached the ears of Lu Ya and the others. As the cave door closed, Lu Ya and Lu Dingbo looked at each other, relieved, and turned back. When they arrived at the city lord's mansion, Lu Ya slapped his head. After talking for so long, he finally remembered that he forgot to ask about the whereabouts of Zuo Feng. Pausing, Lu Ya wanted to go back and ask, but thinking of Fang Shuyan's words just now, he gave up the idea of going back at this moment. It's not too late to ask tomorrow. With this thought in mind, Lu Ya stepped into the city lord's mansion and returned to the quiet room. As for Fang Shuyan's recent statement that Yong's city would be attacked, although the other party had promised, Lu Ya would never put all his hopes on others, and the necessary preparations could not be left behind. As for who the attacker was, Lu Ya had no clue at all. Chapter 206 The attack arrives. Early the next morning, Lu Ya came with 2 large boxes of exquisite food and knocked on the door of Fang Shuyan's cave. Under Fang Shuyan's indifferent gaze, Lu Ya waved his hand, and the invisible spiritual energy automatically placed the 2 large boxes of food on the table. "Fang Daoyao, come and try the special food of my Yong's city." Each one is carefully selected by Lu, and the taste is quite good. Lu Ya showed his thick-skinned spirit and invited Fang Shuyan warmly despite his indifferent eyes. "City Lord Lu, why did you come to me so early in the morning? Just tell me." Fang Shuyan sat at the table, looking at the table full of exquisite food, and asked. "Nothing, I just forgot something yesterday, so I had to bother you, fellow Taoist Fang." After Lu Ya finished speaking, he looked at Fang Shuyan's increasingly indifferent eyes, and quickly added, "Of course, these foods have nothing to do with this matter. I just want to invite fellow Taoist Fang to taste the specialties of our Yong's city." Seeing Fang Shuyan regain her indifferent expression, Lu Ya breathed a sigh of relief. She was so murderous just now. "Come, fellow Taoist Fang, try this, Yong's city's special King Kun Yinggayu crystal bun." Fang Shuyan looked at the crystal clear and small buns in the bowl, but still picked up the chopsticks and took a bite. Seeing her start to use her chopsticks, Lu Ya also followed suit, introducing her the origin and eating methods of certain foods from time to time. After breakfast, Fang Shuyan showed a satisfied look. Lu Ya waved his hand, and the items on the table disappeared instantly. "I'll have to trouble you, fellow Taoist Fang, to divine the whereabouts of this person." Lu Ya took out a roll of bloody cloth and a ball of dark red blood from the storage bag. These were left by Zuo Feng. Lu Ya blew off his right arm at that time, and they were kept by others when they were cleaning up the battlefield. Fang Shuyan looked at the 2 items in front of him and said, "My asking price is very high, as it should be," Lu Ya said seriously. Fang Shuyan stretched out 2 slender fingers, 200 high-grade spirit stones, "No credit." Lu Ya's originally confident expression suddenly froze, and she was a little shocked at the high price, but thinking of the praise that Manager Zhang had for her, she gritted her teeth and nodded in agreement. Then she took out 200 high-grade spirit stones from the storage bag and placed them aside. Fang Shuyan put most of the spirit stones into the storage bag, and the remaining spirit stones piled up around her. "Lord Lu, I am using your spirit stones to do your business, not charging you randomly." Sitting cross-legged among the spirit stones, Fang Shuyan explained in a very pleasant mood. Lu Ya was very upset, and under Fang Shuyan's gaze, he left the room. As soon as he left the room, Lu Ye felt a surge of spiritual energy rising in the room, with a hint of mystery. A quarter of an hour later, the door of the room was opened, and Feng Shui's voice came from inside. "Come in." Hearing this, Lu Ye hurriedly stepped into the room. Feng Shuian threw a jade slip to Lu Ye, and Lu Ye hurriedly took it. "This is the specific location of the person you are looking for. Within 3 days, if the other party moves, you can use the energy on this jade slip to lock the other party's location and achieve the effect of tracking." Hearing this, Lu Ye looked at Feng Shuian in surprise. As far as he knew, it seemed that a fortune teller could only divine the current location of the target, and could not do what Feng Shuian said. Feng Shuian saw Lu Ye like this and asked in a cold tone, "Why don't you leave? Does City Lord Lu have something else to do?" Lu Ye woke up from his dream, bowed, and left Feng Shuian's cave. On the way back, Lu Ye couldn't help but look at the jade slip in his hand a few more times. Then he probed the trace of his consciousness into it, which contained a message. Black Jade Square in Zhou City. This should be the location of Zhuo Feng at this time. After the message, Lu Ye felt that the jade slip was slightly hot, and an indescribable aura pointed to a direction. Lu Ye turned his head to the south and said to himself, "It really has the miraculous effect of tracking. This spiritual stone is worth it." With this jade slip, Lu Ye believed that Zhuo Feng should be dead this time. He turned around and walked towards Lu Dingbo. After a while, Lu Ye placed the jade slip in front of Lu Dingbo's desk and explained its purpose in detail. Hearing this, Lu Dingbo also looked happy and put it into his storage bag. "Lu Ye, I'm going to the 10 Absolutes Hall now. With this thing, Zhuo Feng can't escape now." Lu Dingbo left in a hurry, and Lu Ye returned to his quiet room and began to practice every day. 3 days passed in a blink of an eye. For 3 days, Feng Shuian stayed in the cave without taking a single step out. And there was still no sign of the attack on Yang's city that she mentioned. On the contrary, the 10 Absolutes Hall brought good news. After receiving the news, Lu Ye hurried to Lu Dingbo's cave. When he saw Zhuo Feng's head in a wooden box, Lu Ye finally breathed a sigh of relief. The last person who knew about it had died, and they were finally safe. Lu Ye and Lu Dingbo looked at each other and saw the relief in each other's eyes. "I also want to thank the Taoist friends of the 10 Absolutes Hall." Lu Ye was in a good mood and thanked the envoy of the 10 Absolutes Hall, who was dressed in black and only his eyes were exposed. The envoy of the 10 Absolutes Hall spoke in a hoarse, low voice that could not be distinguished between a man and a woman. "Lord Lu, you are welcome. If there is a chance to cooperate again in the future, we, the 10 Absolutes Hall, can give you a discount of up to 20% as an old customer. Okay, let's visit each other more often in the future." Lu Ye smiled slightly. Seeing this, the envoy of the 10 Absolutes Hall nodded slightly, slowly disappeared into the dark corner of the room, and his breath disappeared with it. Such a strange and mysterious scene made Lu Ye's eyes bright. This hiding method is too convenient. It's a pity that the secrets of the 10 Absolutes Hall are not passed on to outsiders. After extinguishing the thought of learning, Lu Ye then turned to Lu Dingbo and asked, "Grandpa, has the defense of Yang City been prepared in the past few days?" Lu Dingbo gave Lu Ye a reassuring look. "Don't worry, the arrangements everywhere have been prepared. Even if the Yuanying forces come here, it is not so easy to break through." As soon as the voice fell, a violent spiritual energy fluctuation suddenly occurred outside Yang's city. Lu Ye's face changed, and his figure flashed. The next moment, he appeared above the city lord's mansion of Yang's city. He looked to the east and saw a 5-meter-high flying boat with thick rays on its outer protective shield shooting toward Yang's city. Wherever it passed, it left a long-lasting black line in the air. The attack is coming. The rays shot at the protective formation of Yang's city, and immediately caused ripples. "Lu Ye, is this the attack you mentioned?" Lu Dingbo also rushed over at this time. Looking at the huge flying boat outside the city, he was silent for a few breaths. Then he looked at Lu Ye and asked, "Grandson, didn't you say that you don't have to care? Everyone, remember to vote. It's the end of the month." Chapter 207 2 Golden Cores completed. God knows, Lu Dingbo's boast was immediately slapped in the face. Enemy attack! The roars of cultivators rang out in various places in Yang's city, and figures rose from the ground and rushed towards the city wall. Time went back to a day and a half ago. Mo City, a large cultivation city that is as prosperous as the main city of a first-class sect. In Mo City, there is only one owner, that is, the Mo family, which is known as one family with 2 infants. The millions of people living in it and nearly 50,000 cultivators are all inextricably linked to the Mo family. In the westernmost part of Mo City, there is a huge courtyard that occupies almost 1/10 of the area of Mo City. This is the location of the Mo family. At this moment, in the residence of Mo Wenchen, the patriarch of the Mo family, Mo Ziji was sitting in front of a graceful and beautiful woman with a well-behaved face. "Mother, try the cakes that my son made specially for you." Mo Ziji diligently put the cakes into the beautiful woman's red lips. Mo Ziji's mother first tasted it carefully, then looked at her youngest son with amusement, and asked mischievously, "The sun hasn't risen from the west yet, how come my excellent child has time to visit me, an old mother today?" "Mother, look at what you said, my child came to you immediately after finishing his practice, and you still mock me," Mo Ziji immediately argued. Okay, you have a good intention. What is the reason for coming to mother this time?" "It's not that the monthly salary is gone again," the beautiful woman asked gently. "I can't hide it from you, mother. The child is indeed a little short of money now," Mo Ziji sneered and quickly added, "but what's embarrassing is not the spirit stones, but the lack of available people." "Available people? The Mo mansion is so big, you can just inform the servants directly if you need to do anything, and hasn't old Chu been taking care of you all the time? Why do you need any available people?" the beautiful woman asked curiously after hearing this. "It's not like that," Mo Ziji shook his head. "Mother, look at my elder brother, now in the family, as long as he gives an order, most of the family's strong men will obey his orders, but Mo Ziji didn't continue, but the beautiful woman already understood what he meant. The beautiful woman had to comfort him. "Your elder brother is now in the golden core stage, and his talent are all geniuses. Although Ziji is not bad, you were born in nearly 20 years later after all, and there is nothing we can do about it. Then is this the reason why I am not as good as him?" Mo Ziji was a little excited. "Even now, I clearly know one thing that can greatly improve my status in the family, and even compete with my elder brother, but because I have no say in the family, I can only be suppressed by him and can't do it at all." When the beautiful woman heard this, her heart skipped a beat, and she hurriedly asked, "Ziji, what did you just say? You were not bewitched by the demon, right? You must not say such things." Mo Ziji took a deep breath and slowly told what Zuo Feng said. Of course, he selectively concealed the fact that he had heard it from Mo Ziming. When the beautiful woman finished listening, she showed a rare look of deep thought. Seeing his mother lost in thought, Mo Ziji hurriedly continued, "Mother, this is a great opportunity for me to catch up with or even surpass my elder brother. A magical power inheritance. My Mo family only has 1.5 magical power inheritances, which is equivalent to adding almost half of the foundation of my Mo family. Such a great contribution, should I watch it slip away?" The beautiful woman took a deep breath and was a little shaken. "But, the Mo family has a rule that female relatives are not allowed to interfere in the inheritance of the direct line." "Mother, what are you hesitating about? Don't you want to help your own son? Are you willing to watch Mo Ziming take the position of the patriarch and then get rid of me casually?" Mo Ziji's voice was dark and hoarse, but it was like a heavy hammer, hitting the beautiful woman's heart directly. Bang! A crisp slap sounded, and the beautiful woman's eyebrows were raised, her face full of anger. "How dare you? Ziming is your elder brother. How dare you slander your elder brother like this?" The beautiful woman stared at Mo Ziji. "Will you say this again in the future?" Mo Ziji stared at his mother blankly, and after a long while he lowered his head and replied, "It's my fault. I won't do it again next time." "Humph!" The beautiful woman's face was still angry, and she scolded again, "Go to your grandfather's place and stay there honestly for half a month. If you come back and let me hear you say such treasonous words again, watch your mouth." Mo Ziji suddenly raised his head and looked at the beautiful woman, and responded excitedly, "I will go to my grandfather and reflect on it." The beautiful woman can be the mother of the Mo family. Although the power behind her is not as good as that of the Mo family, it is not far behind. Even if there are no unyielding cultivators in the family now, there are still a few cultivators who have reached the perfection of the golden core. Mo Ziji knew that this was an excuse his mother made for him, with the purpose of getting him to go to her mother's family and seek help. "Wait a minute," the beautiful woman stopped the excited Mo Ziji and threw him a storage bag. "Mother hasn't been back to her parents' home for a long time. Please help me bring the things to your grandparents. This is also a way for me as a daughter to show my filial piety." Mo Ziji took it and nodded heavily. Mo Ziji stood at the bow of the flying boat. In front of him, two old men, one with black hair and one with white hair, stood side by side. He saluted respectfully and reminded in a low voice, "Seventh uncle, ninth uncle, this is it." The two old men looked at each other, and their magic power began to rise slowly. The momentum around them became more and more terrifying, and finally reached the level of golden elixir perfection. Even though the two did not deliberately target Moziji still felt suffocated. Although he was a little breathless, Moziji was full of pride. "When I get this mysterious inheritance and hand it over to the family, I'm sure you will regret it, big brother." "Old 9, let's do it." This small city without even a golden elixir, even with a large defensive formation, is not threatening at all. The black-haired old man looked at the white-haired old man beside him and said. The white-haired old man nodded, and then the two stepped out of the flying boat at the same time. Standing above Yuang's city, the two people's golden elixir perfect aura was released without reservation. The powerful aura even broke through the clouds above Yuang's city, and a large piece of sunlight passed through the two people and fell on Yuang's city. The old and majestic voice seemed to fall on Yuang's city with the sunlight. "We are not here to kill, but only to find the Lord of Yuang's city. As long as the Lord takes the initiative to come to us, we will not break the formation and enter the city by force. Don't resist stubbornly." The voice was filled with terrifying penetrating power, which shook the hearts of the residents in the city. On the city wall, a group of foundation builders showed bitterness on their faces. A late golden elixir came a few days ago, and they originally thought it was an accident. Unexpectedly, in just a few days, 2 more giant in perfection came. How could people not feel bitter? Among them, Bai Yushin's expression was particularly bitter. At that time, he thought that Yuang's city was located on the edge and would be a good place for the whole family to escape from disaster. He was secretly happy that he came to the right place. Unexpectedly, the crisis encountered in such a place was no less than that in the central area of Yankee domain, and even more than that. If I had known this, I would never step into Yang's city even if I died and took my family to the mouth of the dead beast. Bai Yushin screamed wildly in his heart, but on the surface he still looked righteous and awe-inspiring that he would live and die with Yang's city. However, after the 2 giant in perfection old men in the sky finished speaking, all the cultivators on the city wall were stunned and looked at the highest point of the city lord's mansion in the center of the city. The reaction in the city was seen by the 2 people in the air. They showed a sneer on their faces and transmitted a trace of consciousness to the flying boat. The next moment, a thick ray of light rushed straight to the city lord's mansion. Luyer looked up at the 2 giant in perfection, and while he was surprised, he was also frantically searching for the origins of these people. After thinking about all the possibilities, Luyer came to the most likely conclusion. It should be Zuo Feng who passed a message. Although he expected Zuo Feng to do this desperate thing, Luyer was also trying his best to avoid this situation, but in the end he was still a step too late. Facing Lu Dingbo's question, Luyer was speechless for a moment. He turned his head to look in the direction of Feng Shuyan, and now he just hoped that the other party would be more powerful, otherwise this difficulty would be really difficult to overcome. As if sensing Lu Ya's gaze, Feng Shuyan's figure appeared in Lu Ya's field of vision. Luyer went up to him. "Feng Daoyao, can you handle this situation?" Feng Shuyan glanced at Lu Ya coldly, and his confident look made Lu Ya even more unsure. It seemed that Feng Shuyan had been maintaining this cold look since the first meeting, and Lu Ya didn't know why. But this was not the time to dwell on this. Seeing that Feng Shuyan did not answer, Lu Ya had no choice but to walk side by side with her. It happened that at this moment, a thick beam of light from the flying boat outside the city came straight to the city lord's mansion, bombarding the city defense formation, and the protective shield trembled a few times. Then the city defense formation of Yang's city was not to be outdone, and white light swept towards the flying boat in the air. This was Li Xiaoxu's counterattack in controlling the city defense formation. A trace of gloom flashed in Lu Ya's eyes, and he had already made plans for the worst. In the sky, the white-haired old man snorted coldly. Stubborn, he opened his withered big hands, and billowing black smoke quickly spread with him as the center. The black smoke covered half of the sky, and then a huge and ferocious ghost face slowly emerged from the black smoke. The ghost face's expression was distorted to the extreme. As soon as it appeared, it slammed into the city defense formation with a piercing scream, and its big mouth full of sharp teeth bit on the protective shield, making a tooth-grinding crunch sound. Such a terrifying might made many low-level monks below tremble, and they could hardly hold the magic weapons in their hands. "City Lord, you should go out quickly. Others have called out names. As long as you go out, the city will be fine," "City Lord, go out quickly, you cowardly villain, why not sacrifice you to save the city?" At this moment, many people had such thoughts in their minds, and some even cursed why Luya had not shown up yet. But they all forgot one thing, that when they came to Yang's city, it was Yang's city that took them in, not owe them anything. Luya didn't care what the monks in the city thought. He looked at the ghost face outside the protective formation at this time, and his heart was even more angry. "Okay, City Lord Lu, follow me out of the city." At this moment, Feng Shuyan on the side finally stopped, turned his head and looked at Luya and said. Seeing that she was still cold, Luya nodded without hesitation. Okay, Feng Shuyan was in the late Jinden stage and not far from the Jinden perfection. It should be no problem to contain a Jinden perfection. He could also deal with another Jinden perfection under the cover of the city defense formation. The two of them stepped into the air and flew towards the city defense formation above. Looking at the huge black smoke ghost face getting closer and closer, Luya's anger grew stronger. When he reached the edge of the protective shield, he could no longer hold back and spit out a golden red beam fire from his mouth. The flame passed through the protective shield first, followed by Luya and the others. As soon as the two appeared, the two Jinden perfections above immediately cast their eyes over. When they saw the two and the beam fire in front of them, they were slightly stunned. At this moment, Luya opened his mouth and shouted hard. The golden red flame suddenly exploded. The extremely strong and Yang Sun true fire spread out, and in a flash, a huge sea of fire formed in front of Luya and the others. All the places touched by the black smoke ghost head were covered by flames. A piercing and terrifying howl came from the ghost head's mouth. Under the burning sea of fire, the black smoke ghost head was fading at a very fast speed. Not good, the white-haired old man's face changed, and his open big hand was suddenly retracted. With his movement, the black smoke in the sky was also retracted into his palm with his movement, and the ghost head, which was almost half-dimmed, escaped. The sky suddenly became bright, and the people in the city looked at the sea of fire and the disappearing black smoke, and their hearts were suddenly much more stable. While a domineering flame, the white-haired old man's palm was like an electric shock, and he swung it backwards, shaking off the spreading golden red breath from his hand. Even so, his palm was slightly red. Obviously he suffered a small loss. This Yang's city lord really has a big secret. The strength of the late stage of foundation building can actually hurt me. The white-haired old man looked at Luya with a hot look. If he was captured alive and forced to tell the inheritance, their family would surely add a lot of foundation. With this thought in mind, the two looked at each other and instantly attacked Luya and the other two. A magic flying sword flashing with cold light appeared in the hand of the white-haired old man, and beside him, a seal pad appeared in the hand of the black-haired old man. The two threw the two powerful magic weapons and rushed straight to Luya. Before the magic weapons came to him, Luya already felt a great sense of oppression and a deep sense of powerlessness. The gap was too big. Luya moved and was about to retreat to the formation behind him. But as soon as he moved, he found that his back was as hard as iron and he couldn't retreat at all. The two people above sneered at this. How could two real people with perfect golden elixir attack and leave such an obvious flaw? Everyone, happy May Day. Chapter 208 The Powerful Master. At this moment, Feng Shuyan, who was beside Luya, took a step forward silently. Such an ordinary step, but it seemed to step on the veins of the sky. It seemed as if she was stepping on an invisible silk thread under her feet. Just a casual rubbing moved the spiritual energy of heaven and earth. At the end of the spiritual energy, there were two magic weapons flying towards her. The two magic weapons, which were originally full of murderous intent, were disturbed by this strange spiritual energy and actually shook, no longer having the momentum before. Feng Shuyan flicked her fingers, and two finger forces shot out, sending the sword and seal flying. It was so casual, as if she was not facing the siege of two Jinden perfection cultivators. Luya turned his head to look at Feng Shuyan in surprise. He didn't expect the opponent's combat power to be so exaggerated. What? Mozuji stood at the bow of the ship, and his heart skipped a beat when he saw this scene. Outsiders don't know the strength of his two uncles, so doesn't he know it? To put it simply, these two are top cultivators who are only one step away from the nascent soul stage. The woman opposite was able to block the attacks of the two uncles so easily. Could it be that the other party is a hidden nascent soul cultivator? With this thought, Mozuji couldn't help but curse in his heart. The intelligence system in his hands was useless. It couldn't even obtain such important information. In the sky, Two old men who had reached the golden core stage recalled their respective magic weapons and looked at Feng Shuyan beside Lu Yan with a serious expression. Seventh uncle, can you see through her cultivation? The old man in black with white hair, old 9, stared at Feng Shuyan with his eyes and transmitted the voice. Moziji's seventh uncle shook his head calmly, and his eyes did not move away from Feng Shuyan. Seeing his thrust, Lao Jiu sent another voice transmission. It's not easy for a giant and cultivator to stop our attack so easily. Could it be that, at this moment, Feng Shuyan suddenly looked at the two of them, and her lips moved slightly. You two are still whispering there, are you going to fight or not? After saying that, she looked at the two of them expectantly. Seeing this, the two of them flashed with anger in their eyes. After looking at each other, they reached an agreement in an instant. Without saying anything, they attacked Feng Shuyan again. Feng Shuyan also stepped forward to meet the two of them. The full-strength attack of the giant and perfection cultivator was extremely terrifying. The fluctuations of the fight changed the color of the sky and the earth, and the ride of spiritual energy turned into tide and hit the city defense formation and the flying boat. Lu Yan had already retreated to the city defense formation at this time. His eyes were fixed on the position where the three people were fighting, and he was ready to respond at any time. After fighting for dozens of moves, the figures of the three people appeared in everyone's eyes again. Feng Shuyan was still calm, but the aura around him became more mysterious. On the other hand, the two old men looked solemn at the moment, as if they were facing a great enemy, especially the gray-haired old 9, who had a trace of blood at the corner of his mouth, obviously suffering a little loss in the previous fight. Old 7 took a step forward, stared at Feng Shuyan and said, I don't know the fairy's name, we are from King Ali. Why, you can't beat them and start comparing backgrounds. Feng Shuyan's mouth curled up, but his words almost pissed the two off to death. No, it's my fault this time, Li. I didn't know the fairy was here, please forgive me. Until this moment, old 7 of the Li family couldn't see through the cold and somewhat vicious woman in front of him, so he said with some submissiveness. The family's current situation is not optimistic. If something goes wrong at this time, even if there is no loss, even if there is injury, the family's hostile forces will rush over like hyenas that smell blood. Compared with the unknown inheritance mentioned by the nephew, it is more important to save his own life. Feng Shuyan saw him say that and understood what he meant, but he sneered and said, Why, come and go as you please, do you think my Yuan city is your Li family's territory? The words contained a momentum of never giving up, but when these words were spoken, the seventh son of the Li family automatically translated it. Meaning, if they don't give satisfactory compensation, they don't have to leave today. So, the seventh son of the Li family took out a small gold and jade box from the storage bag with great pain, and opened it directly in front of Feng Shuyan. A rich spiritual energy emanated from the box, which was filled with lovely high-quality spiritual stones. I am sorry for disturbing you and accidentally damaging some flowers and plants. Here are 350 high-quality spiritual stones to repair the losses in the city. I hope the fairy will accept them. After saying that, the box filled with spiritual stones in the hands of the seventh son of the Li family flew out of his hand and slowly flew to Feng Shuyan's position. Seeing this, all the casual cultivators in the city had red eyes, staring at the flying gold and jade box. But no one had any greed. After all, a giant and level existence was not something that they could touch. The gold and jade box flew in front of Feng Shuyan, who nodded with satisfaction and put it into his storage bag with a wave of his hand. Thank you, fairy. Seeing this, the seventh and ninth elders of the Li family immediately bowed their hands to express their gratitude. They paid for the spirit stones and suffered the beatings. Now they still have to be grateful to each other, which is really a bit aggrieved. After the two finished speaking, they slowly retreated until they retreated to the spaceship, and then they bowed to Feng Shuyan again. Seventh uncle, ninth uncle, are you not hurt? Moziji walked quickly to the two of them and asked with concern. Moziji's performance relieved the depression of the two elders of the Li family. The ninth elder of the Li family waved his hand and said, It's okay, it's just a minor injury. Fortunately, the other party didn't have a strong killing intention, otherwise we would not be able to leave today. Moziji heard this, feeling depressed and unwilling to ask, that man is so strong, could he be a unyielding cultivator? The seventh elder of the Li family looked at him deeply, as if he could see through his heart. After a few breaths, he slowly spoke, Grandson, uncle knows what you are thinking, but listen to uncle, some things can't be forced, such as the city opposite. If the other party has a killing intention, at least one of me and your ninth uncle will die here. And this flying boat will be impossible to save. At that time, even you may be lucky that it has not caused a big disaster now, which can be regarded as our quick surrender. This time, we are considered to be defeated. This time, don't hold on to this idea, and practice honestly after returning. This was said very straightforwardly, and Mozoji naturally understood the meaning of his seventh uncle's words. His expression changed for a moment, but he finally lowered his head and said in a muffled voice, "My grandson understands what my uncle taught me. Thank you for your care. After I return this time, I will practice hard and will never come out until I have achieved the golden elixir." Okay, my grandson has such determination, so what is there to be afraid of? Lee's ninth son laughed and patted Mozoji on the shoulder. Mozoji smiled, took a deep look at the city behind him, and then followed the two back to the flying boat. Chapter 209 Departure. Through the protective shield, Luya silently watched the two giants Henrin fly into the flying boat, as well as the young man beside them. After firmly remembering the faces of King Ali and the young man in his mind, Luya retracted his gaze and came to Fang Shuai's side. "Thank you for your help this time, Brother Fang, otherwise my Yang's city and the people in the city would not be able to escape the disaster." Luya sincerely bowed his hands and thanked him. Fang Shuai had just made a small profit from spiritual stones, and he was in a good mood at this time, and his face was no longer cold as before. "Lord Lu, you are too polite. I have accepted your favor, so I will take care of your affairs." Fang Shuai's answer surprised Luya a little. However, he reacted immediately and continued, "Lu will never forget. If there is any need, Brother Fang will let me know. Even if we are thousands of miles apart, Lu will definitely come to help." As he said that, Luya took out a golden and almost transparent cicada pupa and handed it to Fang Shuai. "Wanli loves cicada? You actually have such a good thing?" Fang Shuai looked at the cicada pupa in front of him and looked at Luya in surprise. Fang Shuai didn't reach out to take it. Instead, she looked at Luya and emphasized, "Are you sure you want to give me this precious thing? You should know that if you take this thing to auction, you can't get it without hundreds of high-quality spirit stones." Luya nodded, without any reluctance in his voice. "Besides this, I can't think of any other way for fellow Taoist Fang to contact me in time. If you can't even contact me in time, then what I said before is probably just a pretense in the eyes of fellow Taoist Fang." Fang Shuai wanted to say that she had other ways to contact Luya, but seeing Luya say so, she didn't continue. Instead, she changed her words and said, "That's right. This Wanli Love cicada is a special spirit insect that can communicate even if the distance is tens of millions of miles as long as the holder inputs mana. In that case, I will accept it." City Lord Lu is indeed a trustworthy person. Fang Shuai took the golden and transparent cicada pupa from Luya's hand, put it in the storage bag, and then smiled. Seeing her accept it, Luya also smiled. "Fang Daoyao, you are too kind. Well, now that the matter is over, there is no need for me to stay here any longer." Fang Shuai looked at the spaceship disappearing in the clouds in the sky and said casually. Luya also looked into the distance and asked, "Fang Daoyao, won't you stay a little longer? I haven't fulfilled my duty as a host yet. I have something else to do," Fang Shuai said lightly. Hearing this, Luya said no more, but just bowed and thanked him. "Then I would like to thank Fang Daoyao, and I wish you a safe journey." Fang Shuai nodded and said, "See you later." Luya also said solemnly, "See you later." Then Fang Shuai took a step forward and disappeared in an instant. Luya stood there for a long time before turning back to the city. As soon as Luya landed in the city lord's mansion, he saw Lu Dingbo rushing over with an anxious look on his face. "Luya, what about Master Fang? Why did he leave? Did we offend Master Fang in some way?" Luya motioned him to be at ease, and then slowly said, "Fellow Taoist Fang had things to deal with, so he naturally couldn't stay in Yang's city for long, so after completing this matter, he left directly." Lu Dingbo was relieved when he heard Luya say this. As long as we didn't offend Master Fang, in fact, there were too many golden elixirs during this period, which really made people a little overwhelmed. "Don't worry, Grandpa," Luya comforted, and then sighed, "This time I owe Manager Zhang a big favor. If Manager Zhang hadn't given fellow Taoist Fang's contact information, I'm afraid we would have no choice but to surrender now." Lu Dingbo also nodded in agreement. "By the way, Luya, do you think Master Fang would mind if I borrow her name for Yang's city?" Lu Dingbo looked at Luya and asked tentatively. "Borrow her name?" Lu was stunned at first, and then reacted. If it's just a temporary shelter, and not an excuse to do evil, it shouldn't be a problem, Lu thought for a moment before speaking. Then he added, but it's best to blur fellow Taoist Fang's information and not expose fellow Taoist Fang's real information. Don't worry, I understand this principle, Grandpa. After receiving Lu's affirmative reply, Lu Dingbo said confidently. After that, Lu Dingbo hurried away again, leaving Lu alone. Seeing this, Lu turned back to the quiet room. Ignoring Xiao Kang and Xiao Wang's harassment, Lu sat on the mat and took out a black cloth ball. He lifted a corner of the black cloth and looked inside. The originally filled sphere now only had a small half of the spiritual essence inside, which slowly flowed as the sphere swayed. Lu looked at the sphere and fell into silence. After a long while, he sighed. It seems that this black cloth ball can only support me until I cultivate to the 9th level of foundation building. Speaking of which, Lu was already very satisfied. His foundation of heavenly way, his own mana foundation is beyond the ordinary cultivators, and his mana capacity is much larger. This is also the key to his ability to sustain the consumption of various magics. If he does not have such strong mana, he may fall into the embarrassing situation of no mana after using those magics that consume a lot of mana a few times. However, with a large mana capacity, the corresponding time and spiritual energy required to fill it up will be more, and the growth rate of cultivation will naturally be much slower. If he only relies on the spiritual energy supply of the 3rd level spiritual land of the City Lord's mansion, Lu may still be like before, and it will take a few days to improve a little realm experience. This is a very good speed. And the main reason why he can make such rapid progress is still relying on the pure and huge spiritual energy in the black cloth ball in his hand. Now, this black cloth ball is about to run out, which also means that the rapid growth period of cultivation is about to end. But it is already very good, at least he still has such a stage. If it were not for the rapid growth of cultivation during this period, Lu might have died in various things before. Concentrating his mind, Lu took a deep breath and was about to enter the practice. But suddenly, Xiao Kang flapped its wings and flew in front of Lu constantly rubbing Lu's hair with its eagle beak. Lu looked at Xiao Kang's appearance, and suddenly felt that it was very similar to the appearance when he was a child begging adults to let him go out to play. So he smiled and asked, "Do you want to go out?" Xiao Kang is now very spiritual. After spending a long time with Lu it can basically understand the meaning of Lu's words. After Lu finished speaking, it nodded vigorously and flapped its wings faster. "Okay, be careful when you go out by yourself." After Lu finished speaking, he pointed to the window with one hand, and the closed window suddenly opened. Xiao Kang let out an excited cry and flew through the window. Lu smiled, then closed his eyes and entered into practice. Dear Masters, thank you for voting, and I wish you all a happy May Day. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 210, Not Enough Magical Points. In the following days, Lu's life returned to normal. He resumed his previous routine, practiced all day, and lived a fulfilling life. Fortunately, Lu had already gotten used to such days. Time passed day by day. Autumn turned to winter. Lu sat cross-legged in the quiet room, his body motionless. A palm of the same size as an ordinary person, slightly shining with white light, appeared on his shoulder, scratching Lu's vest at this moment. The texture on the palm was clearly visible and extremely flexible. If you ignore the white light, it is almost the same as a normal human hand. And all this was achieved thanks to the spiritual column that served as an arm connecting Lu's shoulder and the spiritual palm. This spiritual column was like an arm, continuously transporting Lu's spiritual energy to his palm, which instantly raised Lu's control over the spiritual palm to a higher level, and finally achieved such a delicate movement. The key grabbing method that is about to enter the realm of transformation can achieve such a level. Once the realm of transformation is reached, I wonder how much it will be improved. Lu's mind moved, and the scratching palm paused, and then appeared from his right armpit. At first glance, it seemed as if Lu had an extra arm. It was a bit awkward. Snap! Snap! Lu's left hand and the spiritual palm collided with each other, making a crisp sound. At first, The spiritual palm seemed a little unskilled, but after a few times, the spiritual palm could cooperate with Liu Ya's left hand very well, and the slapping sound became coherent. Since he could cooperate with his left hand, Liu Ya began to think about how to use the spiritual palm to make a seal. If he could complete the seal, then Liu Ya's combat effectiveness would increase a lot. At that time, Liu Ya held a knife in one hand, relying on the burst of the wind escape to attack at close range at high speed, and the other two hands made seals to release those powerful spells. Just thinking about it, Liu Ya could feel how vivid the painful expressions on the faces of the enemies fighting against him would be. At the beginning, because Liu Ya was not used to it, the changes in the handprints of the spiritual palm were still very awkward. Often, Liu Ya needed to adjust and control repeatedly to make a handprint before he could barely do it. But he was not in a hurry, and patiently got familiar with the feeling of controlling one more hand. Gradually, the speed of the spiritual palm seal became faster and faster, and the 5 fingers were like butterflies flying through flowers, changing gestures quickly. Feeling that the time was almost right, Liu Ya stretched out his left hand and began to cooperate with both hands to seal. But at the beginning, the movement of the spiritual palm went out of shape, and the seal was directly scattered. Seeing this, Liu Ya shook his head, with an expression that it was really so. When controlling the spiritual palm alone, it can be done as if it were an arm. But once the left hand is added, when the cooperation of 2 hands is required, the shortcomings of this spiritual palm are reflected. Simply put, the spiritual palm has a certain delay in Liu Ya's instructions. Compared with the left hand, as long as Liu Ya has a thought, or even when he has no thought, the left hand will seal according to Liu Ya's thoughts or instinctively. But the spiritual palm is often delayed by about a breath, which leads to the mismatch between the movements of the left hand and the spiritual palm, resulting in the failure of the seal. It is necessary to coordinate the two, otherwise this spiritual palm cannot participate in the casting of spells, and its function will be greatly reduced. Liu Ya frowned and muttered to himself. Now he finally knew why the 3 heads and 6 arms were called great supernatural powers in the myths of his previous life. It was because this spell could not be cast and mastered casually, and the gold content and difficulty were nightmare level. Otherwise, why in the myths, only a few people cultivated the 3 heads and 6 arms. However, once cultivated, its power and combat power increase are also extremely terrifying. This is also what Liu Ya values. However, to achieve this, it is not enough to rely on one's own research, but still needs the help of the magical power points in the skill panel. Thinking of this, Liu Ya opened the skill panel again. Name, Liu Ya. Lifespan, 23/277 years old. Realm, Foundation Building Level 7. 77/100, Kung Fu, Foundation Building Chongchun Kung Fu Peak. 20,114, 50,000, Skills, Fire Controlling Technique Perfected, Golden Sword Key Perfected, Wind Controlling Technique Perfected, Wind Shocking Curse Peaked. 50000, 50000, Water Controlling Technique. 438691, 500000, Rainbow Transformation Technique. 27453, 50000, Gale Escape Peaked. 37940, 50000, Spirit Purification Technique. 13650, 50000, Soul Bewitching Technique. 10052, 50000, Palm Thunder Transformation. 236648, 400000, Yiki Capture Method Peak. 42628, 50000, Earth Control Technique Peak. 47442, 50000, Zuanitan Spirit Shield Peak. 340/50000, Weapon Refining Technique Level 2. 420/5000 Magic Powers, Sun True Fire, Life Destroying Finger, Guangmo Wind, Calling Wind and Rain Magic Power Points. 0 at present. The closest to the magic power point is the Water Control Technique, followed by Palm Thunder. Once these 2 spells reach their limits, he will not only have 2 more magic power points, but also 2 more magic powers. This will undoubtedly strengthen his own combat power again. However, Liu Ya knew in his heart that with only these 2 magic power points, he might not be able to deduce what he wanted in his heart. Apart from anything else, when Yiki Capture Method reaches its peak limit, if there is still a way to go, he can save a magic power point. If there is no way, then Lu Ye must spend a magical point to break through the upper limit to the level of transformation. In this way, Lu Ye can use only a few magical points in a short period of time. If he is not absolutely sure, Lu Ye will not use this magical point to deduce. Because in the future, there are many conjectures waiting for him to realize one by one. Apart from other things, Lu Ye must obtain the Blood River Giant Body technique of the Blood Refining Sect. That is the spell that Lu Ye can think of that is similar to the great magical power of Law of Heaven and Earth. And there is also the branch direction of the spiritual palm of the star-picking hand. Not to mention, as time goes by, he will come into contact with more and more spells, and the connections between them will also increase. By that time, his magical points will definitely not be enough. Ling. Your system is online. The host can answer any questions you have, Lu Ye suddenly muttered to himself, but the skill panel in front of him still did not change at all. Hello, is the system here? Hi. Cough, I made a mistake. Lu Ye tried all the communication methods he remembered, but the skill panel in front of him remained indifferent. This result forced him to give up the idea of trying to communicate with the skill panel. Come to think of it, if this thing can communicate, why would it wait until now? But I really need a lot of skill points now. Lu Ye was a little crazy. The lack of magical points made him dare not spend lavishly on research. He was afraid that he would accidentally waste magical points and have no extra magical points to use. After scratching his hair twice and venting, Lu Ye regained his calm appearance and continued to concentrate on studying the control of the spiritual palm. It's still May-day, but why can't I, Lihua, have a rest? Chapter 211. Both reached the peak limit. After half a month, Yang's city was still as peaceful as usual. On the other hand, in the Kaiyan Mountains, the intelligence of Yang's city showed that the battle between the human and demon races on the battlefield had turned the world upside down. The Yuanying's Henrin had already fought to the death, and the giant and level cultivators and the demon race had suffered considerable casualties. The cultivators and little demons at the foundation building and key training levels below them had died one after another. Up to now, the demon-slaying alliance and the demon race had completely started a real fight. Now it was not just a struggle for survival at the beginning, but also a blood feud in which the master and relatives were killed by the enemy. Even the demon-slaying alliance had begun to recruit extra high-end combat power and cannon fodder level cultivators from within the entire Yankee region to supplement the demon-slaying alliance camp, which was consuming a lot of resources. At this moment, in Chunman building, many high-level key training cultivators were drinking and having fun accompanied by the girls. Have you heard that the Demon Slayer Alliance has started to recruit cultivators everywhere? I heard that as long as you respond to the call, you will be given 10 middle-grade spirit stones directly in the late stage of key training, and 10 high-grade spirit stones directly in the foundation building stage. And it will be distributed after you sign up. And after arriving at the battlefield and killing the demons, there will be many additional rewards. A bearded man half leaned on the arms of a broad-minded girl, and after eating an imported grape offered by the girl, he said to his companions around him. His expression seemed to be somewhat moved. Tisk, a tall and thin male cultivator beside him said, and then sarcastically said, "You blind bear, why don't you think about why those big forces are willing to give out so many spirit stones?" Without waiting for the bearded man to answer, he continued, "Is it really that easy to make money with these spirit stones? I think these 10 spirit stones are more like buying life money." Beside the two, a fat old man who was almost lying in the pile of women snorted twice, and then said, "That's right, and once you go to the Demon Slayer Alliance, there are so many high-level cultivators above, you can't help but obey orders. At that time, humph, you have to go east when others point to the east, and you have to go up even if there is a mountain of knives in front of you. Otherwise, the high-level cultivators behind you will not show mercy to you. It just so happens that many evil cultivators need a fresh material, so here we have it." After the fat old man finished speaking, the hint of desire on the bearded man's face also disappeared completely. "Is it really that scary?" a girl with a round face behind the fat old man asked curiously. "It's more than scary. By then, those monsters will probably swallow you up with skin and bones in one bite." "Oh, Your Excellency, what you said is so scary. I am scared by you. Look, my heart is about to jump out." The words of the fat old man naturally scared the girls and made them act coquettishly. The fat old man laughed and said, "Let me see if it's really going to jump out." He stretched out his luscious claws and probed under his body. This situation is everywhere in Yang's city. Even in the commercial street, if you meet an acquaintance, you have to chat about this topic. After talking too much, many cultivators are tempted. Every day, you can see cultivators leaving the city and rushing to the collection point outside the city with magic tools. However, most of them are cultivators in the key training period, and most of them are cultivators in the late key training period, mixed with a small number of cultivators in the middle key training period. And among these cultivators in the late key training period, most of them did not participate in the destruction of the Zuo family. After all, the cultivators who participated in the destruction of the Zuo family are now rich and don't care about the 10 medium-grade spirit stones that they would have fought over in the past. In this regard, the decision-makers in Yang's city, that is, the Lu family and others, don't care. After all, the legs are on other people's bodies, and they can't control them at all, and there is no need to control them. At this time, in the city lord's mansion, Lu Ya stood in the center of the martial arts field, and Xiao Kang and Xiao Wang stayed quietly at the edge of the field. Just now, his earth control technique reached the peak limit and naturally advanced to the level of transformation. However, when he saw the experienced value of the earth control technique, Lu Ya almost blacked out and fell to the ground. Earth control technique transformation 1/2000000. Looking at the long string of zeros behind the earth control technique, Lu Ya completely lost his temper. He originally thought that the earth control technique would increase the experience of 100,000 on the basis of the water control technique, but he never expected that it would directly quadruple to a terrifying level of 2 million. If this were to happen to an ordinary cultivator, even if he had practiced the first 3 spells to the point of generating supernatural powers, he would still give up helplessly because the experience required for the last spell was too terrifying and he could not see any hope. Looking at the experience bar of the earth-controlling spell, Lu Ya keenly realized that there must be some big secret in it. It is very likely that it is the final secret of the basic spell. But before that, he had to slowly accumulate experience in the earth-controlling spell. Putting the earth-controlling spell aside first, Lu Ya's mind moved, and a spiritual palm appeared on his shoulder. Compared with before, the spiritual palm summoned after reaching the peak limit is closer to the entity, the fingers are more flexible, and the efficiency of the spiritual energy flow is also higher. The key capture method reached the peak limit one step earlier than the earth-controlling spell, but due to the limitations of the spell itself, it ultimately failed to directly break through to the level of the transformation realm and remained at the peak limit. Lu Ya's mind moved, and his left hand and the spiritual palm began to form seals at a rapid speed. After 4 breaths, a gust of blue-black gust of wind appeared in the open space not far away as Lu Ya pointed his hand. In 4 breaths, release the wind-shocking curse. Lu Ya pursed his lips, still not satisfied with his speed. If it was his own left and right hands that cast the wind-shocking curse, it would only take 1.5 breaths to less than 2 breaths. Now the time has doubled. In the ever-changing battlefield, 1 breath can decide life and death, not to mention 2 full breaths. It's still impossible to use it now. At least the casting time must be shortened to 2.5 breaths, so that it has a certain practical value, Lu Ya muttered to himself in his heart. But it's not bad. At least it's faster than before reaching the peak limit. Lu Ya clapped his hands and comforted himself. The water controlling technique only needs the last 30,000 experience points to reach the limit of the transformation realm and give birth to magical powers and magical power points. At that time, he can use the magic points to break through the Yiki capture method to the realm of perfection. In this way, his Yiki capture method can continue to improve and perfect, and he will have a lot more experience for the road ahead. After the Palm Thunder is born, Lu Ya's extra magic points can only be kept for the time being. There is still a long time for the magic points of the earth control technique. During this period, if there is no other way to obtain magic points, Lu Ya must keep at least 1 magic point in hand to break through the peak limit of other spells. Everyone, please vote to comfort Lihua. I have to go to work tomorrow. Chapter 212, The Progress of the Family Secret Technique. After all, there are still many spells that he needs to break through, such as the speed of the rainbow and the wind escape, the defense of the Zuinul spirit shield, and the attack. Because there are several magical powers, Lu Ya did not take it into consideration. And there is also a very important secret art that needs to be broken through, that is, the current family secret art Zuanyang Yikiju. Since Lu Ya used the red blood cauldron to remove the fire poison in the body of the clan member, Zuanyang Yikiju is no longer something that only a few people can learn. Lu Feng was the first person to successfully practice, and after him, Lu Dingbo also completed the practice of Zuanyang Yikiju. Following closely, Lu Yuan, Lu Tong, and others who were in the late stage of key training also broke through and succeeded. It is worth mentioning that after Lu Xiao learned Zuanyang Yikiju, after being tempered by the true fire of the sun, his control of fire also rose to a higher level, and he successfully advanced to a second-level refiner. Although he can only refine second-level inferior magic tools now, he is also a genuine second-level refiner. Now, Lu Xiao spends most of his time refining instruments in the clan, constantly improving his own refining skills, and only occasionally accepts some orders from others. Lu Xiao, who is only at the 8th level of key training, is second only to Lu Yang, Lu Dingbo and other 3 foundation-building cultivators in the clan. After all, second-level instrument refiners are much rarer than foundation-building cultivators. Now, after the older generation of clan members have mastered the Zuanyang Kiju, the younger generation of clan members have also begun to break through. The first to break through was Lu Hao, the third oldest of the Lu clan's Yang generation. At this time, in the Lu clan's land, Lu Yang was sitting cross-legged in a circular formation. This formation has the effect of gathering the essence of the sun and absorbing sunlight. It has a certain amplification effect on some secret techniques that require the essence of the sun to practice. The sun at noon was extremely hot, and Lu Yang's face was red. The sun's fire in his body continued to rise and roll along the meridians. As time went by, Lu Yang's body trembled slightly, his face instantly turned blood red, and then his muscles began to tremble violently. In just a few breaths, he was like a fish out of the water. The trembling of the muscles slowly subsided, and Lu Yang's complexion slowly recovered, and then slowly converged until it completely returned to normal. Huh? Lu Yang opened his eyes, exhaled a hot airstream, and stood up to draw his sword. The moment the long sword was unsheathed, the sword light exploded like a splash of water. At a glance, only a dazzling light was seen moving quickly. If you get close, you can even feel waves of heat coming. After a while, the sword light disappeared, and Lu Yang's figure appeared from it. Lu Yang clenched the hilt of the sword, closed his eyes and felt it for a while, then opened his eyes showing excitement. No wonder Zuanyang Yikiju is a family secret technique. It turns out to be so powerful. Concealing the joy in his heart, Lu Yang walked out of the formation. At this time, outside the formation, stood a strong man who was nearly 2 meters tall and whose arms were almost as thick as Lu Yang's thighs. "Brother, have you succeeded in your cultivation?" Seeing Lu Yang walk out of the formation, Lu Hao stepped forward and asked. Lu Yang rubbed his ears and smiled bitterly. "Third brother, can you speak a little more quietly? At such a close distance, I was almost deafened by you." Hearing this, Lu Hao smiled and explained without embarrassment, "I am just happy for you, brother." I forgot for a moment. Then, he asked again, "Did you succeed, brother?" Lu Yang nodded and smiled. "Ha ha ha, I knew it." Lu Hao laughed heartily and deafeningly. In this way, the number of people practicing Zuanyang Yikiju in our Lu family has broken through to 14. Lu Hao was a little excited. "Brother, do you think our Lu family can change its name now?" "Change the name?" Lu Yang was stunned, and then a trace of eagerness rose in his eyes. When a family has a special name, it can be considered a relatively powerful family. The name of a family often represents the most prominent characteristics of the family. For example, the previous King Gayao Li family, this family is best at driving ghosts and raising souls, so it is called King Gayao Li family. For example, King Mu Wang family, this in-law family of Lu family, has a weak Yimu bloodline in their bloodline, and has a bonus of less than 10% for wood-attributed skills and spells, whether in practice or casting. Don't underestimate this less than 10% bonus. Once the number is expanded to the entire family, it will reflect the overall strength of the family. And now, Lu family also has the possibility of changing its name. The existence of Zuanyang Yikiju has improved the overall strength of the family cultivators, and this improvement is not limited to one aspect, but from the physical body to the mana. Don't worry about this kind of thing. When the time is right, the clan leader and his grandfather will take care of it. We should work hard to practice and build a foundation as soon as possible. Lu Yang put the sword back into the sheath and said at the same time. "That's right." Lu Hao touched the back of his head and turned to walk side by side with Lu Yang. "By the way, brother, I have already reached the 8th level of key training. Why are you still at the 7th level? Have you been slacking off recently?" No, it's just that I'm focusing some of my energy on swordsmanship now, so my progress in cultivation is a little slower, Liu Yang glared and explained. Third grandfather has said that we, the cultivators of the family, are different from the casual cultivators outside. The casual cultivators need to consider the resources for cultivation, need to protect themselves, and need to solve all aspects of cultivation, and our most important task in the key training period is to build the foundation as soon as possible, and not put too much energy on the technique. Lu Hao is quite serious, brother. After the foundation is built, relying solely on the mana and consciousness of the foundation, even if there are more key training cultivators in front of us, it will be a mob and vulnerable. Don't lose the big picture for the small and waste your time. Liu Yang walked in silence until the two of them walked a long distance, then he said, I understand, but not all key training cultivators are vulnerable in front of the foundation. Look at your second brother, he is a good example. Lu Hao chuckled and said, second brother is a real genius. Cross-level challenges are as easy as eating and drinking. Now he can fight with Jinden's Henrun. That's a special case. Not everyone is second brothers. Third brother, what do you mean? I can't even think about it. Right, Liu Yang raised his eyebrows and said with gritted teeth. Ha ha ha, I didn't say that the second brother is also my target. Lu Hao quickened his pace, distanced himself from Liu Yang, turned around and laughed. Now our conditions are much better than before, big brother. Don't waste this hard-earned life. Lu Hao paused, looked back at Liu Yang, and said solemnly, the family is still waiting for us to support it. Everyone, remember to vote. Chapter 213 Magical Power, 1 Yuan Weak Water. 1 month later. As the strength of the Monster Slayer Alliance's recruitment became stronger and stronger, even the foundation building pill and some natural treasures that can be used for underground foundation building appeared openly in the merit exchange list, which clearly stated that as long as a certain number of monsters were killed, they could be directly exchanged. This also caused many of the late key training cultivators in Yang's city who were waiting to see what was going on to go to the registration site. Oh my god, these people are crazy. On the top of Yang's city, several cultivators with breathtaking breath and above who were at the 9th level of key training gathered together, folded their arms and looked at the figures going away, and one of the sturdy men sighed. How can it not be crazy? Those are foundation building pills and natural treasures that can be used for underground foundation building. If I hadn't earned a lot of cultivation resources in the previous action of destroying the Zuo family, I might have gone there now. Next to the sturdy man, a tall and cold woman said with some relief. Thank you, City Lord. If it weren't for you, I'm afraid we would have no choice but to respond to this call, another person said. At this moment, a young man with green hair looked into the distance and said leisurely, but the natural treasures that can be used to build a foundation, aren't you tempted? The desire in his tone could be heard by anyone. Hey, Qilin, listen to your brother's advice. The water in there is too deep and you can't grasp it, the strong man who spoke earlier said to the young man with his arms folded. That's right, Qilin, if you keep your feet on the ground and move forward, you may not have no chance to take revenge, the tall and cold woman also advised. I know, but I can't control myself. When I think that those people will be free for decades or even hundreds of years, my heart is like being pierced by thousands of arrows. Qeelin's eyes were calm and his voice was so steady that there was no ripple. But the calmer he was, the more nervous and worried the remaining few people were. But it was not easy to say anything more. After all, everyone has their own way. Fellow Taoists, we will see each other later. I'll go first. After Qeelin finished speaking, he jumped down from the top of the city wall and rushed towards the city gate. The cold and beautiful woman's hand was suspended in the air, and finally she let it go quietly. Let him go. Staying here will only make him more miserable. I understand. What happened on the city wall was just a small microcosm of the current situation in Yang's city. During this period of time, the person who had the most difficult life was Lu Dingbo, the chief steward of Yang's city. Looking at the number of monks who left every day, Lu Dingbo's frown never loosened. In the past 10 days alone, more than 30 monks of the 8th level of key training and above left. These monks were the backbone of Yang's city, but now they resolutely abandoned the city and pursued the faint hope of building a foundation. At this time, Lu Dingbo was in Lu Ya's quiet room, telling about the recent phenomena in Yang's city. I have reached a cooperation agreement with manager Zheng. From now on, Wuho Xianbao Pavilion will provide 5 foundation building pills every month and put them on auction to ease the desire of those late-stage key training cultivators for foundation building pills. After Lu Dingbo finished speaking, he paused and sighed. Unfortunately, even though Wuho Xianbao Pavilion released the news, many cultivators still left and could not be retained at all. Lu Ye was not surprised after hearing this. It would be strange if most of them could stay. Cultivators fight for their lives. Many cultivators value not only the foundation building pills provided by the Demon Slaying Alliance, but also the opportunity to fight with enemies of the same level. In other places, will there be such a high-intensity opportunity to fight with enemies of the same level? Not to mention that this kind of battle can not only hone oneself, but also exchange for cultivation resources. If it were me, I would go too. Can it be the same? Lu Dingbo's eyes widened. That is a battlefield where countless monsters and humans are fighting each other. It is difficult for Kigan cultivators to protect themselves in it, and even those who have established their foundation or even their golden elixir may perish in it. You said they went to compete for opportunities. In my opinion, this is tantamount to committing suicide. Lu Dingbo slammed the table heavily. The most infuriating thing is that they are not only going to die, but also weakening the strength of our Yuan's city in disguise, and there is no way and no reason to stop them. After speaking, Lu Dingbo sighed again. Lu Ye comforted him. Grandpa, look at it more positively. If you really encounter something big, it is not realistic to rely on Kigan cultivators. In the end, it depends on the top combat power. As long as the top combat power is not lost, this city can be saved. Lu Dingbo sighed. Hey, Grandpa knows it, but he is always worried in his heart, for fear that one day, the people from the Demon Slaying Alliance will come and forcibly recruit us, especially you. Lu Ye was slightly startled. Then he understood what his grandfather meant. Grandpa, don't worry, not to mention that it won't happen. If it really happens, I don't want to go. Unless a real person in the late Jinden period comes in person, no one can forcibly recruit any of us. I hope so. After Lu Dingbo finished speaking, he stood up and left in a hurry. After Lu Dingbo left, Lu Ye retracted his gaze, and a sense of urgency emerged in his heart again. Without hesitation, Lu Ye's mind moved, and a mini water dragon condensed from the air, rolling and drilling around Lu Ye's body. This is a water dragon formed by the water control technique. With this water dragon, the experience of the water control technique will continue to increase, and the water control technique is only a few hundred experience away from perfection. Until late at night, in the quiet room, the water dragon controlled by Lu Ye instantly shattered, turned into water vapor and dissipated in the air. Lu Ye's aura was very strong, and a damp and heavy feeling spread from his position to the surroundings. As time passed, even Xiao Wang, who was sleeping, woke up, opened his mouth and wailed loudly, "Magic power, 1 yuan weak water." Lu Ye's mind moved, and a pool of light blue and black water appeared in his hand. Just a slight perception, Lu Ye felt a disparate depression and silence from the water mass. Then Lu Ye controlled the water mass to separate a drop of water, and let it fall freely on the floor. Boom! It was obviously a drop of water colliding with the floor, but it made a loud sound like a huge bell. Lu Ye looked carefully and saw a round drop of water lying in a pit about an inch deep in the floor. The surface of the pit was smooth, and there was no crack around it. You know, this is a quiet room guarded by a formation, but I didn't expect it to be directly penetrated by the small drop of water. It is worthy of being a 1 yuan weak water. It is extremely heavy. Just a drop of water can have such a terrifying weight, and it can also penetrate and break the law. And finally there is the biggest characteristic of weak water: a feather cannot float, and it cannot be crossed. After figuring it out, Lu Ye was delighted. In this way, the means of trapping the enemy and breaking the formation will be much richer in the future. Everyone, remember to vote. Chapter 214 Qianfeng Sect Auction. Lu Ye waved his hand, and the 1 yuan weak water in the room instantly turned into ordinary water vapor and was dispelled. Only when the water vapor in the room dissipated did Xiao Wang, who was covered in gray and white fur, get up from the ground and come to Lu Ye's side with sobs. "I didn't notice you, sorry, Xiao Wang." Lu Ye rubbed Xiao Wang's dog head, saying that he would not do it again next time. After being caressed, Xiao Wang's frightened heart was calmed down, and he ran to the side and lay down again without a heart. Lu Ye opened the skill panel and looked at the extra magical point at the bottom. Without hesitation, he added it directly to the key capture method. He watched the magical point turn into a ball of silver-white light and wrap the key capture method, and then he felt relieved. It takes some time to advance the spell. Lu Yu calculated the time and got up and walked out. After leaving the city lord's mansion, Lu Yu walked all the way to Yong Street. Yong Street is the most prosperous commercial district in Yong City. Stores like Wuho Xianbao Pavilion, Qianfeng Sect, and some large elixir and magic tool stores are all here. Therefore, the daily flow of people here is the largest, and the daily spiritual stone transactions are also a huge amount. Moreover, due to the influence of the recruitment of monks by the Demon Slayer Alliance, although the current flow of people is a little smaller, the current prices are nearly 10% more expensive than usual. Lu Yu walked all the way and soon came to the middle of Yong Street and stopped in front of a huge 5-story treasure building. Beside him, monks walked into the treasure pavilion from time to time. Lu Yu looked up and saw a plaque with black background and gold characters hanging above the gate of the treasure pavilion. On it were 3 large characters engraved in a flamboyant style, Qianfeng Pavilion. This is the store of Qianfeng Sect, another major sect in the cultivation world that mainly deals in various cultivation resources. It and Jiubao Sect, the main sect of Wuho Xianbao Pavilion, are both giants in the cultivation world. Today, Lu Yu was invited to participate in the first auction of Qianfeng Sect's store. Ordinary auctions would never come to Lu Yu. But this time was different. Because of the call-up, Manager Hu, the head of Qianfeng Sect stationed in Yong City, took the initiative to find Lu Dingbo and reached an agreement with Lu Dingbo, saying that he would provide 3 to 5 foundation building pills every month to show his support. Lu Dingbo would naturally not refuse this, and also told Lu Yu that he must come to this auction. Lu Yu had just stopped, and Manager Hu was standing in front of the treasure pavilion and had a slightly fat figure, suddenly had a bright look in his eyes. He apologized to the old and young who were receiving him, and walked quickly, bowing his hands and smiling, saying, "Lord Lu is here, and I am sorry for not welcoming you." Manager Hu's enthusiastic attitude and the person he mentioned in his words immediately attracted the attention of the people around him. Even the young woman who was a little dissatisfied after being abandoned by Manager Hu, after hearing him say Lord Lu, the dissatisfaction in her heart quickly dissipated, and turned into curiosity about Lu Yu. Lu Yu was originally on behalf of Yong City, so he naturally showed his true face. "Is this the city Lord Lu? He is so young and handsome." The woman standing at the door looked at Lu Yu, who was talking to Manager Hu, and looked at his star-like eyes and high nose bridge, and couldn't help but have such thoughts in her mind. As she looked at him, a cloud of red appeared on her face. The middle-aged woman next to her smiled calmly, stretched out her hand and pulled her sleeve, which made her come back to her senses. "Your eyes are almost straight, you don't pay attention at all, be careful that you will be scolded by your grandfather when you go back." "Oh, Aunt Tao, I'm just curious." The woman who was caught on the spot blushed more obviously, and hurriedly pulled the middle-aged woman's arm and walked towards the inside of the treasure pavilion. After the two went in, Lu Yu also walked into the Qianfeng Pavilion under the leadership of Manager Hu. Manager Hu was beside Lu Yu, leading the way while smiling and saying, "Lord Lu, today's auction is on the 3rd floor. The first peak has been prepared for a long time, just waiting for you, Lord Lu." Lu Yu nodded slightly and smiled. "Thank you, Manager Hu, for taking the trouble." Manager Hu laughed heartily when he saw this. "If the Lord didn't come, I would have to worry about it." The two of them talked and soon went up to the 3rd floor. At this time, the 3rd floor was almost full of monks who came to participate in the auction. Lu Yu only took a quick look and saw many familiar faces. Under the guidance of Manager Hu, Lu Yu walked to the exclusive passage on the side, avoiding the side of the monks and the field, and came to the first box that had been prepared. In the box, there were already 2 fair-skinned, beautiful, well-behaved female receptionists waiting. When they saw the 2 people push the door in, they immediately bowed and saluted. Greetings to Lord Lu, and to Manager. While talking, they also secretly observed Lu Yu with a corner of their eyes. After all, they were told long before that the pavilion had trained them for so long, and the guest they were going to receive today was the Lord of Yong City, who was of noble status, and all his requirements had to be met with all their strength. They were also well prepared, and now they saw each other, they couldn't help but feel a little happy. The two looked at each other, and they both saw what the other was thinking. If it's like serving the Lord of the city, then it's not impossible. Manager Hu stood at the door and bowed to Lu Yu and said, "The auction is about to start. Please forgive me, Lord Lu, for leaving." Hearing this, Lu Ya immediately bowed and said, "Manager Hu, that's not right. I am looking forward to the first auction of Qianfeng Pavilion." Ha. Manager Hu smiled, and then he turned to look at the two female receptionists. "Chunhu and Nikyu, you must entertain Lord Lu well." "Yes." Chunhu and Nikyu and the two women heard the words and immediately nodded in response. Seeing this, Manager Hu apologized to Lu Ya again, and then left quickly. Seeing this, Lu Ya also sat down with the service of two maids. After a while, the auction started. It was not until 2 hours later that the auction finally came to an end with the sale of a natural treasure that could be used for building a foundation underground. Lu Ya watched the entire auction and had to admit that the level of this auction was indeed very high. Not only were there 5 foundation building pills, several second-level top-grade magic tools, several powerful one-time golden elixir-level talismans, but even a natural treasure that could be used for building a foundation underground that ordinary cultivators could never see appeared. If I hadn't seen it, it would have been fine. Since Lu Ya had encountered it, he would naturally try to fight for it. However, in the end, this treasure was bought by someone else at a sky-high price of 3,500 high-grade spirit stones. For this, Lu Ya could only secretly say it was a pity, but he could do nothing about it. As the auction ended, the crowd in the venue gradually dispersed. Lu Ya did not stay for long. After saying something to the two female receptionists, he left directly. It was not until Lu Ya left that the two female receptionists sighed with some regret. Everyone, remember to vote. Chapter 215, 8th Level Foundation Building. As Lu Ya walked on the street, he heard discussions about the treasures of heaven and earth for building the foundation. The eagerness and desire between the words were even more obvious. The first auction of Qianfeng Pavilion has brought out such a treasure. I wonder if the auction of Wuhou Xianbei Pavilion in a few days will also bring out treasures of this level, Lu Ya thought to himself. After all, the two sects are in a competitive relationship. Now Qianfeng Pavilion has taken the lead in throwing out the trump card. If Wuhou Xianbei Pavilion has no means to take it, then in Yang's city, the status of Wuhou Xianbei Pavilion will be half a head lower than that of the other party. I think there is no need to worry. After all, they are all old sects with many years of experience, so naturally they have some inventory. Back to the city lord's mansion, Lu Ya entered the state of cultivation again. 3 days passed in a blink of an eye. In the quiet room, Lu Ya slowly exhaled a breath of turbid air, pressed down with both hands, and regulated the somewhat restless spiritual power in his body. With his movements, the breath around him gradually stabilized. He finally broke through the 7th level of foundation building. Now he is already a cultivator of the 8th level of foundation building, and is only one step away from the 9th level of foundation building. When he reaches the 9th level of foundation building, he can start preparing for the formation of the elixir. Even now, Lu Ya has to prepare. Forming the elixir is not easy. Generally, cultivators must prepare enough ki-boosting elixirs and other elixirs to form the elixir. In addition, some elixirs and formations for calming the mind also need to be prepared, and the 4th level elixir Vajra elixir used to assist in forming the elixir is indispensable. This elixir is equivalent to the foundation building elixir, and it is much easier to obtain. After all, anyone who has reached the stage of forming the elixir after building the foundation has their own connections. Although the price of a Vajra elixir is high, it is not like those key training cultivators who have no channels to purchase the foundation building elixir. Forming the elixir is not something that can be completed in a short period of time. There are many people who have spent 1 or 2 years, or even 3 or 4 years, to form the elixir from the beginning of the retreat. Apart from anything else, the long lifespan of 800 years after forming the elixir is not so easy to obtain. Once I swallow a golden elixir, my fate is decided by me. This is really not a joke. Not to mention that Lu Ya himself is much better than the average foundation building cultivator, and his foundation is strong. Relatively speaking, it will be more difficult for him to form a golden elixir. But once he forms a golden elixir, his combat power will be much higher than that of ordinary golden elixir cultivators. There is still time, let's do the current things first, Lu Ya sighed, and then opened the skill panel, 1 key capture method transformation. 305/500000. The magical points used successfully broke through the peak limit of the 1 key capture method to the transformation level. But looking at the full 500,000 experience points at the back, Lu Ya had a headache. He didn't know what standard the experienced definition of this skill panel was based on, and why some were more and some were less. But Lu Ya thought about it. This was his first second-level spell that broke through the transformation realm, and maybe all second-level spells had an experience limit of 500,000. He looked at the skills again. Eternal Spring Foundation Building Skill Peaking. 25401/50000. He has already reached half of his skill experience, and his current Jodan running efficiency is also more efficient. The speed of absorbing spiritual energy and accumulating mana has also increased, which is enough to cope with a practice that becomes slower and slower as the realm becomes higher and higher. In terms of spells, except for the first level spells that have already reached the maximum level, the second level spells have all reached the peak level. Among them, the Wind-Shocking Curse has already reached the peak perfection. If it were not for the lack of magical power points, it should have been heading towards the limit of the realm of transformation at this moment. As for the weapon refining technique, it is still at the level of just entering the second level. It is not that Lu Ya does not attach importance to it, but there are too many spells to practice, and now he has no shortage of magic tools, so he has temporarily put aside the improvement of weapon refining, magic power, Sun True Fire, Extermination Finger, Guang Mo Wind, Calling Wind and Rain, 1 Yuan Weak Water. Looking at the magical power, there are now 5 magical powers, which makes Lu Ya feel very satisfied. True Fire burns the body, Guang Mo Wind shakes the soul, Weak Water breaks the defense, the Wind and Rain Call technique kills, and finally the Finger of Extinction erases all existences such as cause and effect, luck, and feeds back to oneself. This is the role of Lu Ya's 5 magical powers, and it is also the basis for Lu Ya to cross the level to fight strong enemies and continuously strengthen himself. Perhaps, I should do some physical training. Lu Ya rubbed his thumb and index finger, and suddenly a thought came to his mind. Once the thought appeared, it lingered in his mind, and there was a vague sense of crisis that kept warning in his mind. Lu Ya couldn't help but start to reflect on himself. Now his physical strength has not been deliberately improved after the foundation of the heavenly Dao. Only when he advances to a higher level, as his cultivation level increases, his physical strength will be slightly improved. But compared with his magic power and spiritual power, his physical strength is a bit behind. There would be nothing wrong with it now, but once Lu Ya starts to form the elixir, the shortcomings of his physical body will definitely be exposed. Not only will he fail to form the elixir, but he will also have a problem whether he can survive under the violent spiritual energy. After thinking through the key points, Lu Ya's heart tightened, and he realized that improving his physical strength was an urgent matter. Body refining is not a difficult thing for me now, but when choosing a body refining technique, I must choose a targeted one. After all, Lu Ya is no longer a novice in cultivation. He naturally knows how great the improvement of some top-level body refining techniques is for cultivators. Some techniques can even regenerate broken limbs and survive a broken heart when practiced to a high level. In addition, some techniques can change one's own body and transform it into a strong body similar to that of a demon. Lu Ya is somewhat interested in this. After all, this is somewhat consistent with his ongoing research on the physical body, such as the 3-headed and 6-armed, the law of heaven and earth, etc. It seems that I need to study more body refining techniques, gather ideas, and learn by analogy. Maybe my research will be promoted. Lu Ya had some enlightenment. A tall building is built from the ground, and the same is true for his research on magical skills. If there is not enough theoretical support, no matter how hard he thinks, he can create something out of nothing. All his previous magical powers were cultivated step by step from the entry level to the realm of transformation. The experience and insights generated in this process are real, not castles in the air. Because of this, Lu Ya can go further on the basis of the realm of transformation and give birth to magical powers that conform to his own cognition. Now it is the same. Since he wants to study and reproduce the magical powers related to the flesh, such as the law of heaven and earth, then the cognition and understanding of body refining techniques is indispensable. On the other hand, the only 2 things he can count as body refining are the split peak fist and the Zuanyang Yikiju that he practiced at the beginning. Without a proper body refining technique, how can he give birth to sufficiently profound physical magical powers? Dear Masters, May Day is over, remember to vote. Chapter 216, The Immortal Body of the Red Sun. There is one more thing to do, Lu Ya sighed in his heart. He stood up and left the quiet room, intending to go to the family's sutra pavilion first. After all this time, The family's sutra pavilion must have accumulated a lot of spells and skills. He planned to see if there were any suitable body-refining skills in the family. A moment later, Liu Ye entered the sutra pavilion and sat down opposite Lu Dinghe. After Liu Ye explained his purpose, Lu Dinghe handed Liu Ye a jade slip. This records all the spells and skills in the current family. Liu Ye, take a look first to see if there is any suitable one. Liu Ye took the jade slip, probed into it with a wisp of spiritual consciousness, and quickly flipped through it. Skipping the spell section, Liu Ye went straight to the body refining section. At a glance, there are quite a few body refining skills in the family, 12 first-level skills, and 3 second-level skills. Liu Ye focused on the introduction of the 3 second-level body refining skills. The 3 techniques either have some special restrictions when practicing, or the body will undergo some irreversible changes during the practice. They are really not good techniques. Liu Ye put down the jade slip and sighed. There are still too few body refining techniques available in the family. It's okay to use them as references, but it's absolutely not okay to practice them as the main method. If there is no choice, Liu Ye may practice, but now it is far from the point where there is no way out, so Liu Ye plans to go to Yong Street to have a look. There are many old-fashioned stores in Yong Street, and their business scope also includes techniques. After leaving the family, Liu Ye got up and flew directly to Yong Street. The first stop is naturally Wuhu Xianbao Pavilion. Manager Zhang and Lu Dingbo are acquaintances, and he owed him a big favor last time. For this kind of mutual cooperation, it is natural to find Manager Zhang first. Liu Ye's arrival made Manager Zhang, who was originally drinking tea and checking accounts leisurely, busy instantly. After serving tea and Liu Ye sat down, Manager Zhang sat heavily in the chair opposite Liu Ye. After taking a sip of tea, shopkeeper Zhang looked at Liu Ye with a smile and said, "City Lord Lu's sudden visit almost broke my old bones. I'm sorry to bother you, shopkeeper Zhang." Liu Ye also smiled and bowed. No, I'm so happy that City Lord Lu can come." Shopkeeper Zhang smiled, and then asked, "I wonder why City Lord Lu is here." Liu Ye put down the teacup in his hand and said directly, "I wonder if shopkeeper Zhang has any bodybuilding exercises for sale. I want to study them recently." Bodybuilding exercises. Shopkeeper Zhang was shocked when he heard this, frowned slightly, and looked at Liu Ye. Then he said, "Of course there are some body refining techniques in the pavilion, but from what I've seen, the city lord has a solid aura and solid cultivation. Why don't you make a concerted effort to make breakthroughs in your key training?" Shopkeeper Zhang has a keen eye. "I admire you." Liu Ye bowed his hands. "I only use the body refining techniques as a research reference, and they won't interfere with your cultivation." "That's good." Shopkeeper Zhang heard this and was relieved. Then Shopkeeper Zhang continued to say, "There are quite a few body refining techniques. Please wait a moment, City Lord. I'll have someone get them for you now." After saying this, Shopkeeper Zhang took out a communication symbol, said a few words, and put it down again. Less than a cup of tea later, a beautiful female receptionist knocked on the door and walked in. After putting down a thread-bound book, she consciously left. "Come, City Lord Lu, these are the techniques currently sold in the pavilion. Please take a look first." Shopkeeper Zhang pushed the catalog in front of Liu Ye and said enthusiastically. Liu Ye was not polite. After thanking him, he took the book and read it carefully. There are only more than 10 exercises recorded in the catalog, but each exercise has a brief description, and the advantages and disadvantages after practicing are marked. After Liu Ye flipped through them one by one, he put down the book in his hand with a feeling of unsatisfied, and sighed sincerely. Wuhu Xianbao Pavilion is worthy of being one of the largest chambers of commerce in the cultivation world. These body refining exercises are all very mysterious and have opened my eyes. Ha. City Lord Lu is too kind. Shopkeeper Zhang laughed, and then returned to the topic and asked, "I wonder if City Lord Lu has any body refining exercises he likes." Liu Ye shook his head and sighed. "The exercises in the pavilion are excellent, but they are not what I need." Shopkeeper Zhang was a little surprised. "City Lord Lu, these are all body refining exercises carefully selected by the pavilion, and many of them can be practiced all the way to the golden elixir stage?" Liu Ye nodded, showing his understanding, and then asked, "I wonder if Shopkeeper Zhang has other body refining exercises in the pavilion." This, Shopkeeper Zhang remained silent. Seeing this, Liu Ye continued, "Shopkeeper Zhang, if there are still some in the pavilion, why don't you take them out for me to see? Are you worried that I can't afford them?" Upon hearing this, Shopkeeper Zhang was about to explain, But when he looked up, he saw Lu Ya's joking expression, and he immediately gritted his teeth and made up his mind, it's not that I treasure them. In fact, these techniques are powerful and have excellent body refining effects, but there are more or less some drawbacks that cannot be overcome, so I didn't take them out. However, since City Lord Lu insisted, I will have someone bring them out. Thank you, shopkeeper Zheng. Lu Ya hurriedly thanked him. Afterwards, the maid brought another book. Compared with the previous one, this one was much thinner, and there were only 4 techniques recorded in it. But after Lu Ya finished reading it, he was shocked and showed a satisfied look on his face. City Lord Lu, is there anything you like? Shopkeeper Zheng asked uncertainly when he saw him like this. Lu Ya nodded, pointed to a technique in the book and asked, Shopkeeper Zheng, I think this Red Sun Immortal Body is very suitable for my needs. I wonder how much it costs. Red Sun Immortal Body. Shopkeeper Zheng was shocked at first, and then said, City Lord Lu, this body refining technique is extremely domineering. It is not easy for ordinary people to practice it successfully. Although once you practice it, your body will be like a diamond, and you will have a terrifying physique and recovery ability. If you practice it to the peak, you can even regenerate broken limbs in a short period of time and survive a broken heart. However, the practice process is extremely dangerous. If you are not careful, you will end up being burned by the true fire. At the least, your meridians will atrophy and your cultivation will regress. At the worst, you will die. Are you sure you want this technique? Lu Yan nodded firmly. After reading this technique, he knew it was very suitable for him. It can be said that he can achieve twice the result with half the effort by practicing this technique. Moreover, the upper limit of this technique is very high. It can even regenerate broken limbs and quickly recover a broken heart. This kind of terrifying physique can save one's life to the maximum. Seeing that Lu Ya still nodded firmly, Manager Zhang pondered for a moment, and then said, Lord Lu, based on our friendship, I will tell you directly that this technique is effective even for Yuanying great monks, so it is expensive. But I can make the decision and give you a 20% discount, a total of 750 high-grade spirit stones. Lu Yan nodded after hearing this. Fortunately, this price is within his affordability and not too outrageous. If it weren't for the high risk of practicing this technique, the price of this technique would not be less than 2,500 high-grade spirit stones based on its recovery effect after practicing it. But this is also good. If the price is too high, although Lu Ya can afford it, spirit stones are accumulated bit by bit, and it is always painful to spend such a large amount at one time. Shopkeeper Zhang said, since City Lord Lu has no objection, I will not say much. Please wait for a moment, I will go and get the technique. Thank you. After Lu Ya finished speaking, Shopkeeper Zhang got up and went out. Lu Ya waited for a while, and Shopkeeper Zhang came back with a smile on his face. City Lord Lu, this is the jade slip of the Chiang Immortal Body technique. This pile of spiritual medicine is given by me. Next time when City Lord Lu needs spiritual medicine to assist in body refining, you can come to the pavilion to buy it. Shopkeeper Zhang pushed a jade slip and a storage bag in front of Lu Ya and said with a smile. Hearing this, Lu Ya bowed and said, Thank you, Shopkeeper Zhang. Then he picked up the jade slip and briefly explored it. This kind of jade slip also has restrictions inside, and only the first part of the content can be seen. It cannot be used for cultivation, but it is enough to confirm the authenticity. After confirming that there is no problem, Lu Ya put down the jade slip, showing a satisfied smile, and put the storage bag full of spiritual stones on the table. Manager Zhang, please. Manager Zhang opened the storage bag, scanned it with his spiritual sense, and confirmed that the number of spirit stones in the bag matched. Then he closed the storage bag again, and a smile appeared on his face. Thank you, City Lord Lu. Then, he picked up the jade slip, cast a ban, and put the jade slip back on the table. Lu Ya watched him do all this, and then put away the jade slip and the storage bag. The skills were already in hand, and there was no need to stay any longer. He immediately said goodbye to Manager Zheng. Back to the City Lord's mansion, Lu Ya went straight to the quiet room and activated the formation. He took out the jade slip that recorded the Red Sun Immortal Body and probed into his spiritual sense. The complete skills of the Red Sun Immortal Body appeared in his mind. Lu Ya studied the skills of more than 10,000 words for an hour before he finally understood it completely. Compared with what was recorded in the catalog in the pavilion, after reading the whole text, Lu Ya felt that this body training method was more powerful. This technique mainly resonates with the power of the sun's true fire through one's own spiritual power, and then activates the sun's true fire, thereby tempering the body, improving the strength of the body, and constantly strengthening the body's strength, recovery, and resistance to blows. After practicing to perfection, the body is like the red sun, the blood is boiling like fire, the five senses are greatly strengthened, the body is indestructible, comparable to the top monsters of the same level, and has the ability to regenerate broken limbs, greatly improving the ability to survive. If you can practice to the peak, you can make the body have no fatal weaknesses. Even if the heart is blown to pieces and the head is smashed, you can consume spiritual energy and blood to recover quickly. And there is another point, which is the reason why Liu took a fancy to this technique. This red sun immortal body has many similarities with Liu Zuanyang Yikiju. Both use the sun's true fire for cultivation. Zuanyang Yikiju only borrows the sun's true fire, while the red sun immortal body uses the sun's true fire. However, the commonality between the two means that in the future, after the Liu clan members have successfully established their foundation and cultivated the Zuanyang Yikiju to perfection, they can continue to practice the Chiang immortal body. This will achieve a perfect connection and continuously improve their combat power and survival ability. Moreover, this Chiang immortal body can be practiced for a long time, at least there is no need to worry about the realm of building the foundation pill. The main function of these medicinal materials is to balance the power of the sun's true fire and protect the body from being burned by the true fire. Liu read to the end, finished reading the method of using the attached medicinal bath, and muttered to himself, "This medicinal bath method is useless to me. I have the divine power of the sun's true fire. When refining my body, I can directly induce the true fire in my body and temper my body according to the instructions of the method. In this way, my speed of practicing this method will definitely improve rapidly." Liu withdrew from his consciousness with a smile on his lips. This is also the reason why he chose this method. It is really that this method is too suitable for him. It is not an exaggeration to say that it is tailor-made. But after becoming a formal practitioner of Chiang Immortal, I'm afraid the body's demand for nutrients will be greatly increased. It seems that a large amount of blood and key pills will be needed to replenish the body's consumption. After sending a message to Lu Dingbo, Liu began to study the technique again. 2 hours later, Lu Dingbo sent someone to deliver 10 bottles of second-level blood and key pills, and Liu finally mastered the technique thoroughly. After ensuring that every step was correct, Liu took out a blood and key pill and swallowed it, mobilizing a trace of the sun's true fire, and began to practice according to the slow guidance described in the technique. Gradually, Liu's body turned red at a speed visible to the naked eye, and a scorching gray-red fire slowly emanated from his body. A quarter of an hour later, this ray of sun's true fire was completely consumed. The first practice was unexpectedly smooth. Looking at the Chiang immortal body that had appeared on the skill panel, Liu, who was already familiar with the process, felt a lot more relaxed and began to increase his practice. Practice has no time. Only after all 10 bottles of blood and key pills were consumed did Liu come back to his senses from his immersive training. Liu opened his mouth and spit out more a ball of gray and red gas, which was the impurities in his body refined by the true fire of the sun. Then he opened the skill panel. Red Sun Immortal Body Minor Success. 508, 2000. In just 10 bottles of blood and key pills, the Red Sun Immortal Body has already achieved minor success, which is absolutely a rapid progress. Clenching his fists tightly and feeling the mighty power surging in his body, Liu is very satisfied. It has been a while since he felt such a strong and full power in himself. Taking out the Jianshou knife, Liu first gently wiped the blade with his fingertips. Liu only felt a feeling of cutting cowhide coming from the blade, and at the same time, a slight tingling sensation came from his fingertips. Then he raised his hand and saw a shallow wound on his fingertips, which only scratched the oily skin and did not hurt the flesh inside. You should know that giant Shaodao, this life-defining magic weapon, is extremely sharp because it was forged by Xian Jixing, and it is much sharper than magic weapons of the same level. This light touch has the same killing power as a second-level low-grade magic weapon. In other words, Liu's physical strength at this time can already withstand the attack of a second-level low-grade magic weapon. If he defends with all his strength, even a second-level medium-grade magic weapon can resist most of the damage. The effect of body refining is very good. Everyone, remember to vote. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. we cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 217 Forced Recruitment. I believe that it won't be long before the Red Sun immortal body will reach its peak, or even reach its peak. Only then will the Red Sun immortal body, a body refining technique, truly show its power. Moreover, in the process of practicing the Red Sun immortal body, Lu Ya's understanding of various body refining techniques is gradually improving. This gave him many ideas that he had never had before, and he also had some ideas about the formation of physical supernatural powers, such as 3 heads and 6 arms. However, this idea is far from being able to fully replicate it. He still needs a lot of knowledge about body refining to continuously fill himself up, so as to accumulate enough foundation, and finally he can try to replicate it with the help of supernatural power points. This will definitely be a long process. However, when Lu Ya considered that he still had 2.5 centuries to live, he suddenly felt that this long process was not so long. Just as Lu Ya was still thinking about future practice matters, a wave of undisguised spiritual energy broke into his perception, causing him to exclaim lightly. Then, his figure disappeared from the quiet room, and the next moment he appeared above the city lord's mansion. At this moment, in Yuang's city, a large number of cultivators looked up at the sky, their eyes full of shock and worry. In the sky, a huge spaceship was parked outside the city defense formation. The heavy hull was covered with claw marks and many were damaged. It can be seen how much battle this spaceship has experienced. Under the watchful eyes of the crowd, 3 figures stepped out of the spaceship. The leader was dressed in a golden robe, with a magnificent demeanor and a profound cultivation. He looked down at the city below and said calmly, "I am Jin Haixin, the Eastern Tour envoy of the Demon Slayer Alliance. Where is the Lord of Yuang's city?" Lu Dingbo appeared beside Lu Ya without knowing when, staring at the figure above his head, and blocked Lu Ya's way. "Lu Ya, please be patient for a while. I will go to meet this so-called Eastern Tour envoy of the Demon Slayer Alliance first." As he said this, he was about to take off and fly upwards. "Grandpa, I'll go. It's a blessing, not a curse. If it's a curse, it can't be avoided. And I still have the strength to fight." Lu Ya moved and appeared in front of Lu Dingbo, speaking calmly. Lu Dingbo wanted to say something, but in the end he didn't say it under Lu Ya's gaze. Lu Ya looked up at the 3 people above, and stepped into the air step by step. At the same time, a young but steady voice resounded through the sky, "The Lord of Yuang's is here. I'm honored to see you, fellow Taoists from the Demon Slayer Alliance. I wonder if you have any advice?" Jin Haixin looked at Lu Ya, his eyes calm. Facing Lu Ya's question, he just said calmly, "The decisive battle is imminent. I am here on the order of the Alliance to draw the living combat forces in Yankai territory. All the Jindan combat forces of all forces must go to fight, and half of the cultivators below the Jindan level will be drawn." After speaking, he stretched out his hand and a small bronze tripod flew out of his hand. The copper tripod rose into the air, and a huge wave emerged from it, and an aura beyond a golden elixir rose from it. "This demon-killing tripod is enough to prove our identity." Lu Ya looked at the small tripod in the air. It was only the size of a palm, but it exuded an aura like a mountain. Just standing in front of it, there was a heavy pressure. Jin Haixin looked at Lu Ya and spoke again, "Lord of Yuang's city, within 1 hour, summon the monks in the city to follow us to the next city. Those who disobey the order will be regarded as betraying the human race and will be killed on the spot." A deep murderous intent burst out from Jin Haixin's body, and his golden elixir cultivation was released, which immediately stirred up the wind and clouds, and came towards Lu Ya with unparalleled power. Lu Ya looked at the majestic Jin Haixin in front of him, and just asked, "Yang's city will contribute to the human race's war, but how should the reward be calculated?" Before saying this, Lu Ya already understood that they could not escape this call-up anyway. The other side only dispatched 3 people, but the lowest of these 3 people was in the middle stage of the golden collar. The leader, Jin Haixin, was much higher than the ordinary late stage of the golden collar. It was obvious that he was a top cultivator in the golden core realm. As soon as these 3 people appeared, they had already locked their consciousness on him. If he did anything not to cooperate, the next thing would be the thundering means of the other side. He asked such a question, seemingly asking about the reward, but in fact he was testing the purpose of the Demon Slayer Alliance's conscription. If they were used as cannon fodder, Lu Ya might not resist for the time being, but when the time came, he would definitely escape without hesitation. But in this way, this Yankee domain can no longer stay. Even if you want to stay in Yankee domain, you may have to change your appearance. However, if it is really what they said, that they need to concentrate the strength of the cultivators in Yankee domain to participate in the final battle, then there is not much problem. In response to Lu Ya's inquiry, the leader, Jin Haixin, immediately said, "The reward is the same as before, there is no difference." Lu Ya heard this, nodded, and said nothing more. "Please come into the city to rest for a while, Envoy Jin. I will gather the monks in the city and then go with Envoy Jin." "That's great." Jin Haixin smiled when he heard this. The city defense formation slowly opened a big hole and let the spaceship behind Jin Haixin into the city. The spaceship slowly landed on the open space outside the city lord's mansion, followed by Jin Haixin and the other three Jinden. The spaceship slowly opened, revealing a crowded scene inside. "Envoy Jin, please move into the mansion and practice for a while, and wait for us to gather the monks in the city." Lu Dingbo stood beside Lu Ya at this time and spoke to Jin Haixin and others. "Hurry up, time is running out, don't delay deliberately." Jin Haixin looked forward and warned in a stiff tone. "Of course, please rest assured, Envoy Jin." Lu Ya had no expression on his face. With the threat of the three Jinden and the suppression of the Demon Slayer alliance, the monks in Yang's city were gathered together even though they were extremely reluctant. There were a total of 17 foundation-building cultivators in Yang's city, and all of them were summoned. Even the late-stage foundation-building female cultivator who was sent to the brothel by Lu Ya and others was brought here. After seeing Lu Ya and others, the deep hatred in her eyes made Jin Haixin quite curious. It seems that the business of sex is popular in Yang's city. There are even late-stage foundation-building cultivators. It's really rare. Jin Haixin's words made the foundation-building cultivators who knew the inside story stunned. Then they all had subtle expressions, but did not explain. "Messenger Jin, all the cultivators in Yang's city are here, including 17 foundation-building cultivators and 1,239 mid to late-stage key training cultivators," Lu Dingbo said with a roster in his hand. Jin Haixin picked up the roster and tilted his head slightly to signal the mid-stage Jinden cultivator next to him. The other party nodded slightly, then turned into a rainbow light, explored with his spiritual sense, flew around Yang's city at a high speed, and returned to his original position. "I'm sorry. I worked overtime until 10 o'clock last night. I was planning to lie down for a few minutes, but I accidentally fell asleep. I'm really sorry." Chapter 218 Yinka Battlefield. Seeing that he did not express anything, Jin Haixin nodded slightly. Yang's city was quite sensible and did not do anything sneaky or conceal anything. Therefore, Jin Haixin was willing to give face to Lu Ya and others. He said, "Then I will trouble the city lord to select half of the monks to board the ship with us." Lu Ya nodded slightly and looked at Lu Dingbo on the side. Lu Dingbo understood the meaning in Lu Ya's eyes, and then he took out the roster and read out the names one by one. In less than a cup of tea, Lu Dingbo had completed the list screening. The moment Lu Dingbo closed the roster, long sighs of relief sounded in the crowd. The selection of the key training monks has ended, and the next is the turn of the 17 foundation-building monks. Lu Ya stepped forward and called out the names one by one. Soon, Bai Yushin and others appeared at the front of the team. After ordering, Lu Ya turned around and looked at Jin Haixin and said, "Messenger Jin, the remaining few foundation builders have either just been promoted to the foundation builder stage or are too old to fight." Jin Haixin understood what Lu Ya meant. His eyes stayed on Li Xiaozi and Lu Dingbo for a while, and then nodded. "This is an internal matter of Yang's city. I am only responsible for bringing them here. It's getting late, get on board as soon as possible." With Jin Haixin's order, the team began to move gradually. No one dared to resist, which was tantamount to seeking death. Soon, more than 600 people got on the spaceship. Lu Ya walked in front of Lu Dingbo and Li Xiaozi, and slowly said, "Old Senior Li, I hope you will take care of me after I leave." Li Xiaozi nodded solemnly and said, "Don't worry, fellow Taoist Lu, as long as I am here, no one can hurt anyone from our family." Lu Ya nodded, then looked at Lu Dingbo. "Grandpa, don't worry about us, just wait for us to come back in Yang's city." After saying that, he also gave Lu Dingbo a meaningful look. Lu Dingbo also nodded. After the explanation, Lu Ya put his hands behind his back and turned to walk towards the spaceship. Lu Dingbo looked at Lu Ya's hands behind his back, which was a unique gesture of the Lu family. He stepped into the spaceship, The space changed, and Lu Ya appeared in an open space as large as 4 football fields. Lu Ya was a little surprised that this seemingly inconspicuous flying boat actually had a lot of secrets. No wonder so many cultivators could be easily accommodated. Lu Ya looked around and saw that the interior of the flying boat had been filled with monks, leaving only half of the empty space of a football field. The monks of Yang City had gathered in one place, like a large patch, occupying part of the empty space. Lu Ya walked slowly to the front of the team, without saying much, just sitting cross-legged quietly. Seeing this, the other monks did not dare to say anything more, and followed suit and sat cross-legged. The future of this trip is uncertain, but it is foreseeable that there will be no shortage of life and death battles. At this moment, seize the time to practice, and a little more mana will increase the possibility of survival. After 3 days, 3 more waves of monks came on the spaceship. Until this time, the spaceship has been completely filled with monks. Seeing this, Jin Haixin immediately waved his hand and issued a return order. The spaceship received the order and slowly turned around in the air. The spiritual energy suddenly burst out, causing a spiritual energy wave in the void, and the speed suddenly soared, flying towards the center of Yankee domain at a high speed. It took nearly half a month to get here, but it only took a day and a half to go back. When the spaceship came to a complete stop, the Yankee Mountains had already arrived. Everyone, joined in first, then foundation building, and key training last. Don't mess around, violators will be killed immediately. Jin Haixin stood at the exit of the spaceship, looking at the densely packed cultivators below, and his voice resounded throughout the venue like thunder. Then the hatch of the spaceship slowly opened. After the hatch was fully opened, more than 10 breaths passed before a giant and cultivator flew out of the crowd. Then, giant and cultivators began to fly out of the hatch one after another. Lu Ya stood in the crowd and counted them carefully. He found that there were as many as 8 giant and cultivators among them. After waiting for a while, the foundation building cultivators began to fly out. This time there were more, and basically every city's team had them, with as few as 3 or 5 people and as many as more than 10 people. Lu Ya led the 7 people from Yang City and followed the crowd to fly out. As they got closer to the hatch, a creepy feeling became clearer. When Lu Ya stepped out of the hatch, a bloody aura rushed to his face. The bloody smell in the air was even more disgusting, and there was a faint scream around his ears. Is this the Yankee Mountains where the human race and the demon race fought to the death? Behind Lu Ya, Bai Yushin's lips moved slightly and he said with difficulty, "You newcomers, follow me." Just as Lu Ya and others stopped, a cultivator in the middle stage of foundation building walked up to them and shouted loudly. After speaking, without waiting for Lu Ya and others to react, he turned around and walked forward quickly. Lu Ya looked around and it seemed that there were many people like this person, so he took a step and followed him. Soon, Lu Ya caught up with the cultivator who had spoken earlier and asked, "Fellow Taoist, where are we going now? The Yankee Mountains are so huge, where will we be sent to?" The cultivator who led the way glanced at Lu Ya, and when he noticed that he was in the late stage of foundation building, the impatience on his face faded a little, and explained, "All newcomers need to go to the logistics department to receive their identity cards, and then they will be assigned to different fronts according to their needs to carry out different combat tasks." Lu Ya had another medium-grade spirit stone in his hand, and he stuffed it into the other party's hand openly, and then continued to ask, "What is the use of this identity card? Why is the first thing to do to receive it?" The leading cultivator put the spirit stone into the storage bag with satisfaction, and said with a smile, "Fellow Taoist, this identity card is an important means of identifying our human cultivators. You must never leave it with you, otherwise once you're on the battlefield and activate the large-scale killing formation, all living things without identity cards will be attacked indiscriminately. It is a prop for identifying enemies and friends." Lu Ya understood it in his heart. "Fellow Taoist, this is my first time here as well. I wonder if there are any precautions." The leading monk once again accepted the 3 mid-grade spirit stones handed over by Lu Ya, and said with a smile on his face, "This Taoist brother asked a good question. There are many things to pay attention to on this battlefield. Since the war began, many monks have thought highly of themselves and looked down upon the monster race. As a result, now even their corpses cannot be found. Therefore, I spent a lot of time and energy summarizing the precautions on the battlefield as well as the dangerous places and places of death, for the benefit of those who come after me. Fellow Taoist is really kind-hearted. May I take a look at this summary?" Lu Ya once again took out 10 mid-grade spirit stones and stuffed them into the leading monk's hands without hesitation. Chapter 219, Being Tricked. Okay. After walking a few steps, the monk who led the way got nearly a month's worth of offerings. He immediately smiled. Senior, if you have a request, I will offer it to you with both hands. Then, he took out a jade slit and handed it to Lu Ya with both hands. After Lu Ya took it, he just scanned it with his spiritual sense and then put it into his storage bag. Senior, this is your first time here, and there are some things you may not know. The leading monk took Lu Ya and walked a few quick steps, distanced himself from the team behind Lu Ya, looked around, and then came to Lu Ya and whispered, "You must remember what I'm going to say next. The Vanguard camp has great merits, but it is hard to enjoy them. The artifact camp is stable, and if you only seek stability, the best place to go is the disabled camp." After saying that, the leading monk coughed dryly and said, "My sect still has some say in the artifact camp. If the senior wants to join the artifact camp, I can recommend you on his behalf." Facing the expectant gaze of the leading monk, Lu Ya smiled at first, then his mind turned a little and he understood what he meant, but Lu Ya did not take over his words, and asked back, "I don't know, friend, what is the difference between the Vanguard camp, artifact camp and the disabled camp?" At this time, the leading monk still hoped to pull Lu Ya into the artifact camp, so that he could gain much more than just this little bit of benefits from it. Therefore, facing Lu Ya's question, he said very seriously and quickly, "The Vanguard camp is the vanguard of the battlefield. The most dangerous, most difficult to fight, and the place with the most monsters is the activity location of the Vanguard camp. Therefore, most of the monks in the Vanguard camp have good combat power and many opportunities to make meritorious deeds, but the mortality rate is too high. In this period of time alone, I heard that almost 60% of the monks in the Vanguard camp have been replaced. As for the disabled camp, it is difficult to enter unless you are a wounded person or a doctor or alchemist." After speaking, the leading monk paused, and then emphasized, So far, the artifact camp is the most stable environment. You don't need to go to the battlefield to fight monsters, nor do you need to cripple yourself. You only need to complete the tasks assigned by the Alliance within the specified time. What if the task is not completed? Lu Ya quickly grasped the problem in his words. The leading monk seemed to have expected Lu Ya to ask such a question, and immediately replied, "This is simple. The monk at the verification office is the great elder of our sect. If senior cannot complete it, I am willing to talk to the great elder on your behalf. You can pass it by paying some spirit stones." At this point, how could Lu Ya not understand? According to what this person said, the artifact camp is indeed a good choice. But the person's words and deeds are inseparable from spirit stones. It is difficult for Lu Ya to guarantee what the scene will be like after entering the artifact camp, or in other words, when the spirit stones are exhausted, will he still have that kind of treatment? How about it, if senior is interested, we will go to the artifact camp. The leading monk wanted to strike while the iron is hot and take Lu Ya down directly. Lu Ya shook his head, pointed to the building not far away and said, "It seems that we have arrived at the place. Let's go and get our identity cards first." The monk who led the way was slightly stunned. He looked in the direction of Lu Ya's finger and saw the familiar black iron hall. His expression suddenly became as if he was constipated. Then he nodded and said to Lu Ya with a smile, "Okay, let's go get our identity badges first." The group entered the hall. The monk who led the way handed over the badges to the person on duty in the hall and left quickly. Before leaving, he looked at Lu Ya with regret. Lu Ya looked around and saw many monks queuing up in a long queue to register. After waiting for a while, it was finally Lu Ya's turn. In front of the wooden table, an old monk asked mechanically without even raising his head, "Name?" "Cultivation level." Lu Ya thought for a moment and said in a slightly low voice, "Lu Ya, the 8th level of Foundation building. Well, this is your identity badge. Come here to transfer a bit of magic power. From now on, all your merits in killing enemies will be recorded under your name." The old monk pointed at the piece of white jade on the table in front of Lu Ya. Lu Ya did as he was told. The old monk pushed a nameplate made of gold and jade, about 1 finger long and wide, to Lu Ya's side, and shouted weakly, "Next." Lu Ya took the nameplate, made way, and followed the crowd who had left before to the next place. While walking, Lu Ya looked left and right at the nameplate in his hand, and saw the words Lu Ya written in square fonts on the top of the nameplate, and the words Gong Soon below, and the space below Gong Soon was blank at this time. Lu Ya, Luya was slightly startled, and then his expression was normal. Let it be Luya, the name doesn't matter here. Following the flow of people, Luya came to another registration table. Here is a brief introduction to the Yin Kui battlefield. You have 1 day to familiarize yourself with it. After 1 day, you will officially enter the battlefield. Another monk of the same age pushed a jade slip in front of Luya, and repeated the same words countless times in the same mechanical voice. Luya took the jade slip and felt a little familiar. Then he thought that it seemed to be exactly the same as the one given by the leading monk before. Luya took out the jade slip given by the leading monk and compared it. It was exactly the same, and even the content of the jade slip had not been changed at all. I was cheated. But I got some useful information from that person, which was enough. When Luya followed the crowd out of the hall, the leading monk had disappeared without a trace. I'm afraid this artifact camp is not a good place, Luya thought to himself. City Lord, just as Luya was about to go to the buffer zone, a suppressed shout came from behind him. Luya turned his head and saw Bai Yushin and other 3 foundation building monks walking quickly. Fellow Taoist Bai? You can just call me fellow Taoist in this Yinka battlefield. I wonder what fellow Taoist Bai wants to see me about. Look at what you said, City Lord. In my heart, you have always been my most respected City Lord. Bai Yushin still had the tone of a loyal supporter of Luya, and continued, I thought that since we have arrived at the Yinka battlefield, we can follow the City Lord and solve some small matters for him and share his worries. The other 2 also nodded repeatedly, saying, yes, yes. We are willing to share the worries for the City Lord. Are you kidding? How could they not know the combat power of City Lord Lu? To be honest, Bai Yushin has lived for so long, and he has never seen such an outrageous foundation-building cultivator like Luya, who could actually kill the golden elixir with his foundation-building body. If Luya was not born in Yanka domain, if he was born in a slightly more stable area, such as Chenho domain, Yanling domain, etc., he would have become a genius in the area and a treasure in the palm of the sect. Chapter 220 Analysis. Luya also understood the thoughts of Bai Yushin and others. He shook his head and said, this battlefield is too big. I am not sure if I can save my own life, let alone a few more people. Bai Dao, I understand your thoughts, but compared with my protection, I think it is more dangerous for you to stay with me. Bai Yushin and the other 2 had a stiff expression, but in just a moment, they figured out the meaning of Luya's words. Luya's combat power is too high, so high that he will definitely be targeted by the demons. If they stay with Luya, they may become the innocent fish that are affected. At that time, after a big battle, Luya may not have a problem, but these little cultivators will die in the aftermath of the battle. With this thought, Bai Yushin's initial momentum of clinging to Luya's thighs disappeared instantly, leaving only the embarrassment of being caught in a dilemma. Seeing this, Luya smiled and said, take care, fellow Daoists. I hope to see you again after the war is over. Bai Yushin and the other 2 also bowed and said, take care, fellow Taoist Lu. See you after the war. After bidding farewell to Bai Yushin and the other 2, Luya continued to move towards the buffer zone mentioned in the jade slip. Fortunately, I left Grandpa and the others in Yang's city, otherwise if they came here, the probability of survival would really be low. Walking forward, feeling the bloody smell in the air, Luya couldn't help but feel fortunate. If they had dared to be sneaky at that time, perhaps they wouldn't even be able to come here. This is just a buffer zone, and they haven't really stepped into the battlefield with the demons, but there is such a bloody smell. Luya can't imagine what it will be like when they get to the real battlefield. The buffer zone is built on a large flat mountain. The huge temporary tents are like blooming mushrooms from above, neatly and densely arranged on the ground. When Luya arrived near the buffer zone, he clearly felt his life card light up slightly, and then he entered the buffer zone unimpeded. After entering the buffer zone, what caught his eye was a huge notice board with a few short lines of text on it, introducing the rules of the buffer zone to everyone. The buffer zone is only allowed to stay for 1 day. All temporary residences can be occupied at will, but they cannot be changed after entering with a life card. The life card is extremely important, be sure to keep it well. In just 3 short sentences, there are no other rules or tips. After Luya paused for a few breaths, he began to walk forward. As he walked, Luya was thinking. The buffer zone only allows 1 day of stay, and no one is allowed to stay longer than 1 day. Does it mean that no one will stay longer than 1 day? Temporary residences can be freely chosen, but they cannot be changed after the choice is made. This should mean that the area where each monk is located is convenient for management and subsequent transfers. Lu looked up and glanced at the obvious District 1 and understood. As for the extremely important life card, this is a bit strange. Lu walked through several areas and found that there were not many vacant rooms in these temporary residences. After walking for a while, Lu finally found an unoccupied room in the 8th district. After swiping the life card and entering the room, 4 simple wooden beds came into view. Lu randomly chose one and sat cross-legged. First, he sorted out the various information he had collected, and then took out the jade slips distributed in the black iron hall and began to read. There was not much information in the jade slips, and Lu only spent a short time to understand it clearly. In summary, it is very simple. 1. The life card is related to life and must be kept well. Once the life card is damaged, it must be replaced in time. At the same time, be careful that your life card is taken away by the demon clan too. In the Yinka battlefield, the monks must obey the orders of the monks with higher cultivation, even if they are wrong. 3. There are countless dangers inside the battlefield, but the Yunlongton and Silent Valley are places where you will die without a single chance of survival. Don't get close. 4. Merits are only recorded on the life card, and merits can be exchanged for resources. Putting down the jade slip, Lu breathed a sigh of relief. It is indeed the style of the demon sect, simple, direct and brutal, showing the naked law of the jungle to the fullest. The life card is not unique, which means it can be robbed and replaced. This is the case with merits, and the same is true for identity. Although I understand that this is a typical style of the demon sect, Lu still doesn't understand it. Obviously, there is a life and death enemy like the demon clan in front of them. Why is there such a default rule of killing each other? Shouldn't these things be dealt with after the external crisis is resolved? After thinking about it again, Lu seemed to understand a little. The forces in Yankidai were not originally in harmony. Fighting to the death was commonplace. Their hatred for each other might not be any worse than that for the demons. Under such circumstances, it was definitely not a simple matter for the demon-killing alliance to be formed. Perhaps, it was this tacit agreement to allow each other to kill each other and resolve their hatred that was a major reason for the formation of the demon-killing alliance. After figuring out the key points, Lu couldn't help but sigh. Sure enough, reality is always the most magical. In the face of life and death crisis, there is still time to resolve personal hatred. However, this aspect also reflects why this war between humans and demons can last so long, and it may not be that there are no human forces dragging their feet in it. We still have to be careful. Lu sighed, and then closed his eyes and entered the state of cultivation. After practicing for 5 hours, Lu woke up with a dull horn like thunder. Before he understood what was happening, he heard a sound like rolling thunder coming from outside. All monks, leave your residence immediately, stand outside your residence, and wait for arrangements. The thunderous voice was repeated 3 times. After 3 times, everyone had walked out of their residences and looked up at the figure above. Lu stood outside the door, also looking at the 9 people in the sky, among whom was an acquaintance, Jin Hakshin. Seeing that everyone in the buffer zone below had come out, an old man among the 9 people said, according to the old rules, take away all the monks in each area. The others nodded, and then the 9 people flew towards the 9 areas respectively. Lu watched a monk in a peach-colored robe fly over their area, and his memory was instantly activated. This was a monk from the Yin-Yang demon sect. He had seen him once before participating in the secret realm, and his terrifying soul charm was still fresh in Lu's memory. Thinking of this, Lu lowered his head and did not look at the monk in the pink robe. At this moment, the pink-robed monk above spoke. I am the elder of the Yin-Yang holy sect. All monks in the 8th district, follow me. Anyone who disobeys will die. The last word seemed to turn into an invisible sharp needle, piercing into the ears of all the monks below, causing pain in the eardrums of many monks with low cultivation. Chapter 221 Entering the battlefield. It's not a good place. Lu felt a stinging pain in his eardrum inside in his heart. The same scene happened in various places in the buffer zone. Following the orders of the 9 Jinden monks, countless monks, either stepping on magic tools or driving rainbow lights, took off into the air. Lu also set up a rainbow light and mixed in the crowd. The pink-robed monk glanced at the crowd below and flew out to the west first. The other monks in the 8th district followed closely and also flew away. Lu was in the team. Looking back at the buffer zone, he saw that the monks in the sky were divided into 7 teams and flew in different directions. There was no conversation along the way. The crowd flew for an hour. Lu Ya saw that the mountains below were becoming more and more bare, and there were more and more blood stains. Finally, a little orange-red spark appeared in Lu Ya's field of vision, followed by an endless sea of lights. This is an extremely huge camp, much larger than the buffer zone. Lu Ya looked around and saw that in front of the camp, there were 3 consecutive strong defensive walls that were more than 10 feet high. Outside the walls was a vast plain. Seeing this, not only Lu Ya, but the others also understood. The front line has arrived. As if they realized something, there was a little commotion in the team. Lu Ya listened carefully and heard many suppressed voices. Why am I so unlucky that I came to the main battlefield? It's over. It's over. Listening to the voices in the team, Lu Ya's expression gradually became solemn. At this time, he had to admire his luck. How could he choose the main battlefield if the two sides war casually? Such a scene in the air naturally attracted the attention of the camp below. In just a few breaths, a giant monk flew from the camp to the front of the team and asked the pink-robed monk, "Excuse me, Elder Chang, these people are the new monks, right?" The pink-robed monk nodded, then flicked his sleeves, threw down a sentence, "I will leave these people to you to arrange," and fell directly to the camp below. The giant monk who came to greet them was not surprised. After the pink-robed monk left, he said to all the monks in the 8th area, "Fellow Daoists, please follow me. I will assign appropriate tasks to you later." After that, he took the lead and fell to a corner of the camp below. Lu Ya followed the crowd and also fell down. After falling, the giant monk took the only 4 giant monks in the 8th area away, leaving the remaining monks in place. Seeing this, Lu Ya also breathed a sigh of relief. It seems that the foundation building monks can only be regarded as middle level in this camp. The middle level is good. There is no supervision from above, and the attention from below is not much, and the attention they receive will be much less. When the war really starts, the monks will fight in one place. With his cultivation, he should still be able to protect himself in the foundation building battlefield. Foundation building monks, step out, without letting everyone wait too long. Just a few minutes after the giant monk left, a monk who had just entered the giant came to the front of the team and shouted loudly. The foundation building monks from the 8th district came forward one after another. Lu Ya stood in the crowd, not conspicuous at all. The giant monk looked at the 64 foundation building monks in front of him, nodded slightly, and said with satisfaction, "From now on, you have stepped into the battlefield. Your only responsibility is to kill all the monsters in front of you." All foundation building monks are automatically upgraded to team leaders and can lead 10 key training monks. You can choose to lead or not. As for the difference, I don't need to tell you, Lu Ya naturally understood the difference. Most of the monks here came from sects or family forces. It is naturally safer for the same sect and the same family to travel in groups. Some other independent cultivators who are not good at cooperating with others are given full freedom and allowed to fight alone. But I want to emphasize that no matter you fight alone or lead a team, once the battle begins, you must obtain enough merits, otherwise you will be considered as passive fighters. If you fight passively for 2 consecutive days, your life card will turn red. Don't blame us for being ruthless. The giant monk's tone was grim, and the warning was self-evident. Hearing this, the monks who were still grateful for being able to fight in a group all felt nervous and understood the benefits. Okay, now disband. Form a team or rest freely. If you have any questions, there are road signs and other monks in the camp. After the giant monk finished speaking, he waved his hand and left. Lu Ya ignored the monks who were forming teams, and like many lone monks, he left the team and walked away. The previous jade slip introduced that all the residences in this camp can be lived in at will, and there are obvious road signs in this camp. Lu Ya randomly chose a residence and entered it through the life card. Entering the room, what caught my eyes were 2 entangled figures. After Lu Ya came in, the 2 of them had no intention of stopping. Lu Ya had a blank expression on his face. He chose a wooden bed farthest from the 2 of them and sat cross-legged. After a long while, accompanied by a sigh, the 2 finally came to an end. "Are there new people?" Only then did a weak female voice sound from the wooden bed over there. The muscular male monk put on his lining, wiped the sweat from his face, sat on the bed and looked at Lu Ya and asked, "Newcomer, what's your name?" Lu Ya looked up at him and saw that he was sitting there openly without any embarrassment. Lu Ya replied in a low voice. "Are you interested in joining?" the male monk asked. Lu Ya glanced at the 2 of them again and did not express anything. "Don't get me wrong, I'm asking if you are interested in joining our team, not asking if you want to join now. Of course, if you want to join, we don't mind, the male monk explained. Are you two from the yin-yang holy sect? Luya asked. No, we won't go even if the yin-yang sect asks us to go. We are from the Haoan sect, and she is my junior sister. Mentioning the yin-yang holy sect, the male cultivator immediately said with a disdainful tone, you can't even face the most basic 7 emotions and 6 desires. Even dogs won't go to this yin-yang holy sect. Luya has heard of the Haoan sect. Unlike the yin-yang holy sect, the atmosphere within the sect is more chaotic. To put it nicely, it pursues the 7 emotions and 6 desires of the human body and explores the path of cultivation through the harmony of yin and yang. To put it bluntly, this sect is a pure paradise of indulgence, and the atmosphere within the sect can no longer be described as open. The scene that Luya just experienced is normal in the Haoan sect. Everyone, remember to vote. Chapter 222, Nascent Soul Fight. However, there is a secret method in the Haoan sect, which makes the male disciples handsome and heroic, and the female disciples beautiful and charming. This has aroused the interest of many monks, who hope to spend a night of love with the people of the Haoan sect. The Haoan sect also has similar businesses, and the most famous one is the Paradise Palace, which is far ahead of other places of entertainment. Whether you are a man or a woman, you can experience the bliss of the human body in the Paradise Palace, which can be called a fury-like enjoyment. The most important point is that these services do not cost money in principle. It is completely free. Of course, whether you can come out alive in the end is another question. Those who come out alive basically lose both their money and their lives. After the male cultivator of the Haoan sect finished speaking, the female cultivator behind him also raised her head. Her beautiful face had 2 intoxicating blushes. After seeing Luya's appearance, a gleam of light flashed in her eyes. She couldn't help but lick her lips with her pink tongue, and said in a sweet tone, yes, I haven't eaten enough yet, forget it, I'm used to being alone. Luya refused without any interest. Okay, the male cultivator of the Haoan sect shrugged, reached into the thin blanket, and continued, but I still want to advise you, both of us are in the late stage of foundation building, and with you, our survival rate on the battlefield will be a little higher. If it's just you, we will die on the battlefield soon. Luya was a little alert. Why did the 2 people from the Haoan sect want to pull him into the team so eagerly? Out of caution, he did not respond, but closed his eyes and gradually entered the breathing. The 2 people from the Haoan sect looked at each other and transmitted their voices to each other. What a pity. This is the first time I have seen such a strong male cultivator. I really want to taste him. The female cultivator stared at Luya's nose, which was like a hanging peak, and said with some regret, don't talk about you. I want to taste it too. The taste must be very intoxicating. A trace of desire flashed in the male cultivator's eyes, and he also felt a little regretful. If Luya heard the voice transmission of these 2 people, his mentality would probably explode. He originally thought that the 2 people from the Haoan sect were just a little open because of the cultivation method they practiced, but he never expected that these 2 people were actually planning to take advantage of his body. The room fell into a brief silence, and then the rhythmic shaking of the bedboard sounded again. Until a blast that pierced the sky, and put on the robe at a very fast speed. Luya also opened his eyes at the same time, watching the 2 people get up and rush out. Hurry up, the monster is attacking again, the 2 people walked while reminding Luya. Hearing this, Luya followed the 2 people and rushed out. Rushing out of the house, Luya saw arrow-like figures shooting out from the house, heading straight for the city wall and plain not far away. A pair of brothers and sisters from the Haoan sect were also among them. Seeing this, Luya stepped on the ground and turned into a gust of wind to rush towards the city wall. At a fast speed. The 2 people from the Haoan sect who had been paying attention to Luya couldn't help but twitch their eyes after seeing Luya's terrifying speed. Fortunately, I didn't use force last night, otherwise I might have capsized in the ditch. At this time, at the end of the plain, a vague mountain was slowly pressing towards the camp. Although it was a long distance away, the demonic aura it exuded had already made everyone look solemn. The savage elephant king is here again. A trace of trembling sound came from the crowd. At the same time, a huge blood river passed across the sky, carrying violent spiritual energy and pungent bloody smell, and washed from the center of the camp towards the plain. It's the Blood River Patriarch. The Patriarch has taken action, The camp was immediately filled with cheers from the disciples of the blood-refining sect, and the low morale quickly recovered. Luya looked at the mountain coming from the end of the plain in shock. This was also the first time in his life that he had seen humans and monsters at the nascent soul level. The huge gap in their cultivation levels almost made him unable to think of any resistance. The blood river was vast and the savage elephant was like a mountain. Both were extremely fast. In the shocked eyes of the crowd, the blood river and the savage elephant, like a mountain, crashed into the center of the plain. Boom! A circle of gray-white air waves instantly exploded from the contact point between the two, forming a ring-shaped shock wave that quickly spread to the surroundings. Luya felt a violent impact on his body and had a deeper understanding of the nascent soul great monk. Just a collision, the aftermath of the battle alone had a significant impact on himself who was so far away. If he was in the range of the battle between the two, he would probably be killed by the aftermath. After the collision, the blood river and the wild elephant instantly tore through the clouds and rushed into the sky, where their battlefield was. What came into view was a raging army of monsters like waves. Everyone listen up, kill all the monsters in front of you. On the outermost wall, a giant monk was in full force, and his deafening roar resounded throughout the camp. Amid the deafening shouts and killing, the various spells and magic weapons cast by the human monks fiercely collided with the innate skills stimulated by the monsters. Almost in the blink of an eye, the monsters rushing in the front were instantly turned into powder, and the smell of blood began to spread. The giant monks rushed forward, and the spiritual energy of the world was used by them to transform into various powerful spells to shoot at the huge waves of monsters in front. After only 2 rounds of attacks, the huge waves of monsters collapsed, and several black shadows shot out from the herd and killed the giant monks. Kill! Only then did a large number of foundation building and key training monks roar and engage the charging monsters. Luya wielded the giant Shao knife, held the Zuinil spirit shield, and his figure was as ethereal as the wind, constantly killing the monsters that were targeting him. Facing this terrifying beast tide, Luya seemed quite at ease. The powerful power of the life-destroying finger was almost impossible for these second-level monsters to block. After only a quarter of an hour of fighting, more than 200 monsters died in Luya's hands. The life essence fed back by the life-destroying finger made Luya quite satisfied. If he could just kill like this on this battlefield, it would be a good choice. However, Luya's outstanding performance soon attracted the attention of the monsters. A second-level peak tiger monster bit off the human corpse in its mouth, and its dark golden tiger eyes stared at Luya. The next moment, with the cover of the battlefield, it turned into a shadow and pounced on Luya. Boom! Luya kicked out, and his whole body burst out with great strength, kicking the monster in front of him away, and knocking down the 3 monsters behind it. At the same time, a sharp sound of breaking through the air sounded from behind Luya's head. It was the tiger monster's sharp tiger claws that could split gold and crack stone. Luya did not move, and a few drops of water formed behind him and shot towards the tiger monster that was attacking from behind. Everyone, remember to vote. The previous chapter was reviewed and is being revised. Chapter 223, Burning Sky Flame. The 1 yuan weak water was extremely concealed, almost the same as ordinary water drops, and a few drops of water were not noticeable in this chaotic battlefield. The tiger demon rushed over, and the killing intent in the dark gold tiger's eyes was almost boiling. It couldn't wait to see Luya screaming in pain because of his stomach being ripped open under its claws. With boiling killing intent, it didn't notice the extremely ordinary water drops at all. In Luya's perception, the 1 yuan weak water hit the tiger demon that was attacking from behind at a slow but firm speed. The first thing it touched was the tiger demon's outstretched tiger claws. The moment the two collided, the tiger demon's eyes suddenly enlarged to the limit, and dense bone-cracking sounds came from its well-tempered tiger claws, and in the blink of an eye, they spread to its right upper arm that was slapped. "Ayo how!" The tiger's roar filled with fear and anger resounded in all directions, attracting the attention of many surrounding warring parties. Then, everyone saw that the right arm of the tiger demon, which had a very attractive aura, seemed to have been bombarded with great force. It actually began to break inch by inch, with bright red flesh and blood rolling, white bone fragments splattering, and the entire right forearm was shattered out of thin air. The people around all looked at Luya, who was the target of the tiger demon's sneak attack, in doubt, and unconsciously distanced themselves from Luya. Only then did Luya turn around, take a step, and almost instantly appeared beside the tiger demon. The muscles of his right arm bulged, and the exaggerated and ferocious giant Shao knife was as fast as lightning, and he chopped down the tiger demon's neck with a knife. The giant Shao knife was unimpeded all the way, and the huge tiger head of the tiger demon, which had no time to react, fell to the ground with a click. The broken end was flat and pale, without a trace of blood. At the moment of being beheaded, the tiger demon's blood had been plundered by the giant Shao knife. Lu Yu swung the giant Shao knife, and the last trace of blood on the blade was absorbed by the blade, and the evil spirit emitted by the giant Shao knife became even heavier. This person should not be provoked. Seeing Lu Yu's performance, the people around him immediately classified Lu Yu as a person who should not be provoked, and remembered Lu Yu's face and the giant Shao knife in his hand. The brothers and sisters of the heroine sect were not far from Lu Yu. When they saw Lu Yu being attacked by the tiger monster, they wanted to warn Lu Yu. But before they could say anything, they saw that the tiger monster had been beheaded by Lu Yu. They were all stunned and didn't know what to say. They looked at each other and could see the shock and intoxication in each other's eyes. Too powerful. A peak-level second-order monster comparable to Cultivator at the Fallstan realm, and a tiger-like monster famous for its combat power, was killed instantly by him. With such a powerful combat power, it is probably not much inferior to those famous prodigies of heaven. That's right. When did such a fierce man appear in our main battlefield? How come we have never heard of him before? Are you stupid? Did a group of cultivators just come yesterday? I guess this person just came, otherwise he wouldn't have been unknown all this time. I'm afraid this person will be able to enter the merit list after this battle. It seems that he is another strong contender for the top spot. I wonder if the Holy Son of the Yin-Yang Holy Sect can still keep the rare item at the top of the list. The death of the peak-level second-order tiger monster caused some commotion among the surrounding monsters, which also gave the cultivators who were dealing with these monsters some breathing time. Taking advantage of this time, the familiar cultivators whispered to each other. The spiritual energy in the battlefield was chaotic, and it was almost impossible to use voice transmission. Although the voices of these people were not loud, they were loud enough for Lu Yu to hear. Meritorious list? The top item on the list? Lu Yu chewed on these two words silently. His hands kept moving, constantly killing the monsters around him. The monsters seemed endless, and the shock of killing the tiger monster only lasted for less than a moment before it was completely covered by the surging monsters. Death was happening all the time, and the screams of human monks before death and the wails of monsters intertwined into a grand movement, resounding over this plain. Zizzy. 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 The knife energy was as dense as a rainstorm, and continuous blood marks appeared on the bodies of the monsters swarming in front of Lu Yu, and then they fell down like scattered building blocks under the wails. With one knife, Lu Yu cleared the monsters in front of him, and exhaled a breath of gas with a slight smell of blood. Even as strong as he was, he felt a little tired in the face of these seemingly endless monsters. Lu Yu looked up at the sky, where dozens of Jinden-level cultivators and even more demon kings were fighting. The pink-robed Jinden cultivator of the Yin-Yang Holy Sect was fighting 3 demon kings alone, with terrifying fighting power. And above them, 2 huge phantoms were looming, and from time to time there was a shocking collision sound. Boom. Another heart-shaking loud noise. All the cultivators on the battlefield glanced up at the sky. Ang, an angry elephant cry resounded through the sky, and the terrifying pressure that seemed to be real came down from the sky to the battlefield below. Even the Jinden-level cultivators and demon kings who were also in the air had to land. Lu Yu looked up, and vaguely, he seemed to see an ancient demon elephant standing upright, raising one of its hooves high and trampling down violently on the plain below. Boom. There were shocking loud noises coming from the sky one after another, and soon it resounded throughout the world, like a continuous thunder. The people below no longer cared about the monsters in front of them, and looked up at the sky. As a result, everything they saw made all the beings on the plains look pale. The sky had turned red at some point, and the clouds above the huge shadow had turned into a deep red color like magma, and they kept rolling and surging like magma. The constantly broken clouds were more like bursting magma bubbles. The clouds pressed down on the shadow of the blood river below, filled with the breath of destroying everything, as if a world-destroying natural disaster had come. This is the flame of the burning sky. The savage elephant king has gone crazy. One of the people beside Lu Yu looked at the scene in the sky and screamed in horror. Hurry up, or we will all die under this burning sky flame, another shouted. And after saying that, the flying magic weapon under his feet lit up, and he was about to turn around and run for his life. Boom. After the shadow of the blood river collided with a burning sky cloud sea, it suddenly fell downwards. The burning sky cloud sea was in a dominant position, and under the repeated trampling of the demon elephant, it pressed the blood river down continuously. Although the blood river was already raging, it still couldn't stop the fall of the burning sky sea of clouds. During the collision, countless magma droplets continued to fall towards the plain below like raindrops. Every time they fell, whether it was people or animals, they were all melted by the magma, and they couldn't even scream. Everyone, retreat immediately, stay away from the battlefield. Above, the cold and ruthless voice of the pink-robed monk resounded throughout the plain. At the same time, a long and deep cry sounded behind the monster. The monk who received the order no longer cared about the monster's attack, and turned around and rushed towards the camp behind. There, a protective shield like a giant bowl was turned upside down, protecting the entire camp. Everyone, remember to vote. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story, and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 224, Mutual Killing. Luyat had been ready to withdraw when the magma was dripping down, but because he was not allowed to, he could only retreat slowly, while avoiding the magma falling from the sky. Now that he had received the order, he naturally no longer hesitated, and his speed suddenly increased to the extreme, almost turning into a hurricane, whistling towards the protective shield on the campsite. The aftermath of the battle between the two unyielding monks caused these magma drops to move at an extremely fast speed, and one could be hit and killed if he was not careful. The roar above his head became louder and louder, and most of Luyat's mind was focused on the magma splashing down from the sky. Boom! There was another roar, and a large piece of magma flew down. One of the drops had a long tail and shot towards Luyat, and appeared above Luyat's head in the blink of an eye. Luyat's pupils shrank suddenly, and the gust of wind escape that had been ready for a long time was instantly used. In an instant, he moved 5 feet to the side and avoided this deadly situation. That was close. Luyat only had time to catch his breath before he saw the blood river in the sky suddenly emitted dazzling blood light, and then the blood light shrank and swelled, and a large piece of blood waves that were thicker than before surged up, forcibly holding up the burning sky sea of clouds, preventing it from falling even a bit. Aang, looking for death, an elephant roar and a roar sounded at the same time, followed by a huge roar that continued from the point where the blood sea and the magma sea touched. This time, in addition to the magma drops, there was also blood like arrows shooting down. Such a scene almost made the monks below despair. If you run down, you will die. Everyone listen to my orders and join forces to defend. Jin Hakshin, who had met Luyat once before, burst into a roar and said without question. Hearing Jin Hakshin's voice, several Jindan around him hurriedly joined forces, and in a surging spiritual energy, a huge golden light shield appeared above their heads. Almost at the moment the light shield was formed, the magma and blood arrows in the sky began to rage, constantly falling on the golden light shield, stirring up large pieces of golden red light flowers. The light shield faded at a speed visible to the naked eye. Why don't you join forces? Are you waiting to die? Jin Hakshin roared again, and the monks who were covered by the light shield and breathing suddenly realized it. They released their own mana and continuously injected it into the golden light shield. With the infusion of mana, the golden light shield finally stabilized, and the previous shaky situation no longer existed. Seeing this scene, everyone finally breathed a sigh of relief. However, as the roars above became more and more frequent, the fight became more and more intense, and the golden light shield suffered more and more attacks. Gradually, the speed of mana consumption of Luyat and others also increased, and many people could not bear it soon. The golden light shield dimmed again. Seeing the light shield gradually dimming, more and more people gradually began to lose their mana and rush towards the camp at an accelerated speed. Each of them has his own agenda. Luyat cursed in his heart as he watched many monks pretend to have consumed too much mana even though they still had some strength left. Jin Hakshin and the others above were also under great pressure. After finally holding on for more than 10 breaths, Jin Hakshin stopped supplying mana without saying a word, and the golden light shield suddenly shattered like a bubble. This scene without any warning exposed the monks under the light shield to the attack. The next moment, a large number of screams rang out. At the moment the light shield shattered, Luyat sensed it, and he shot out again and rushed towards the camp. At this time, he was not far from the camp, and he could return to the protective shield in 2 minutes at most. At this time, many people had already returned to the protective shield of the camp, and were looking back at the monks who kept rushing towards the protective shield. Bang! A foundation-building monk rushed to the protective shield, ready to rush in with a happy face, but unexpectedly hit the protective shield hard, and his body was bounced out of the protective shield uncontrollably. No, the monk whose mana was in disorder, looked at the protective shield getting farther and farther away and the magma getting closer and closer, and let out an unwilling roar. Then, the roar stopped abruptly. This scene made many monks instantly remember something, and they all held their life cards in their hands and continued to rush towards the protective shield. However, many monks did not touch their own life cards, and their faces changed drastically, and their eyes looked at the monks around them and became dangerous. Finally, after a foundation-building monk killed a 9th-level key training monk with one blow and took his life card, the uncontrolled killing began in front of the protective shield. Whoosh! Luyur was about to rush into the protective shield, but a sharp sound of breaking through the air blocked his figure outside the protective shield. An obviously bloodthirsty monk stared at the giant Shao knife in Luyur's hand and the storage bag on his waist, licked the blood splashed on his face, and rushed up without saying a word. While he was in the air, he activated one talisman after another, and spells came towards Luyur. He raised his hand, and 2 black lights followed and shot towards Luyur. Luyur looked up and saw a drop of magma flying towards him, and immediately understood the other party's plan. If he was stopped here, he would die under the magma in just a few breaths, without the other party having to do anything. Luyur's eyes turned cold, and his figure moved, and in an instant he rushed through the spell bombardment constructed by the fake Dan monk. With a single hand, 2 blood-red life-destroying fingers shot away the 2 black lights that were attacking. Then Luyur activated the swift wind escape again, and his figure flashed, and he appeared behind the other party. The moment Luyur's figure disappeared, the fake Dan monk's heart was alarmed, but he only had time to lay down a defensive talisman, and then he felt the defense in front of him shook, and then his neck hurt. The next moment, he felt dizzy and finally fell into darkness. When the headless body of the fake Dan monk fell downwards, Luyur's figure suddenly appeared in the air behind him, and the giant Shao knife in his right hand, which was soaked in blood, became more and more red. A fake Dan monk was a piece of cake for Luyur now. If this man hadn't taken the initiative to provoke Luyur, Luyur would not have even looked at him. Luyur grabbed the storage bag on the waist of the corpse with one hand, and it automatically flew to his palm. After getting the storage bag, Luyur didn't even look at it. His figure flashed and penetrated the protective shield and appeared in the camp. The monks around him all moved away from Luyur's position without making a sound, and looked at him with fear. It was so easy to kill a fake Dan monk. This kind of combat power is already invincible below the golden elixir. If he makes the other party unhappy, he may not be much better than the fake Dan monk. There was no one within a foot around Luyur, and he was happy about it. He just looked at the fierce battle in the sky through the protective shield. At this time, the battle in the air was coming to an end. The blood river was becoming more and more turbulent, while the magma sea of clouds was becoming increasingly dim. After a while, huge waves rose up on the blood river, completely submerging the magma sea of clouds. Everyone, remember to vote. Chapter 225 Merit. With a loud bang, the mountain-like shadow disappeared in the sky and rumbled away into the distance. The blood river ancestor won. The ancestor is mighty. Seeing this, the blood-refining sect monks in the protective shield cheered loudly, looking proud of it, and even their momentum was higher than others. The threat disappeared, and the protective formation of the main battlefield camp also dissipated. The resources consumed by such a large formation every time it was opened were terrifying. With the disappearance of the protective shield, the monks who were originally in the camp immediately set out for the battlefield and began to consciously clean up the battlefield and pick up spoils. Luyur retracted his gaze, and there was still some surprise in his eyes. This was the first time he saw a battle at the unyielding level, and it was completely different from what he imagined. Originally, he thought that the unyielding monks might be much stronger than the Jindan monks, but it did not mean that the Jindan monks had no ability to resist. But today's scene made Luyur understand that the gap between the unyielding and the Jindan was even greater than the gap between key training and foundation building. It seemed that there was a gap between the two that could not be crossed. Even a cultivator as strong as the yin-yang demon sect's pink-robed golden caller, who could suppress the 3 demon kings with his own body, still mainly dodged when facing a battle with a unyielding cultivator. This was just the aftermath of the battle between the unyielding cultivators. If they really wanted to attack the golden core, Liu Ye estimated that it would be a 100% sure death. The sense of urgency once again emerged in Liu Ye's mind. Because he remembered the Qingyao Li family, a former Yuanying family and now a top golden core family, and the Mo family, a family with two Yuanyings who were in-laws. During this period of time, Lu Dingbo did not do nothing. After taking Zhuo Feng's head, Lu Dingbo conducted a series of intelligence collection, from his address to the appearance of the Qingyao Li family, and then to the young man who Liu Ye saw standing on the bow of the spaceship at that time, and finally determined that the person Zhuo Feng revealed the information to should be the second son of the direct line of the Mo family. Although Lu Dingbo had analyzed with Liu Ye, just because the second son of the Mo family invited the maternal family Qingyao Li family, it can be seen that what he did should not be supported by the Mo family, and he was still in a disadvantaged position within the Mo family. Moreover, they also relied on the powerful performance of the fortune teller Fang Shuyan at that time to release the existence of a Yuanying cultivator behind Yuan's city. But Liu Ye always believed that the truth could not be hidden, and the rumor would eventually be exposed. When that time came, the Liu family would have to face the Yuanying Mo family who had completely set their sights on it. And can the Liu family, which does not even have a giant cultivator, compete with the Mo family? Obviously, they can't. I really can't stay in this Yanka domain. If I can't afford to provoke me, can't I hide? When this war is over, I will immediately stay away from this place of right and wrong. Liu Ye secretly made up his mind in his heart. Anyway, the family resources are no longer lacking, and there are large flying boats. If the whole family wants to migrate, it is not a difficult task. At that time, the whole family will go to the outer domain and stay away from the disputes in this Yanka domain. Liu Ye was flying over the battlefield. He looked around and saw burnt limbs and arms. His nose was filled with a strong stench. From time to time, there was a prying look at him. I can't stay in this broken place for a day. Liu Ye had no expression on his face, but he was not slow at all. All the monks who came to participate in the battle were strong, and they had the resources of the Demon Slayer Alliance, so they were all wealthy. The Demon Slayer Alliance also had clear regulations that it was forbidden to fight for spoils after the war, and first come first served. Therefore, on this battlefield now, there were only countless monks who used their speed to shuttle around the battlefield and constantly collect the wealth of their dead comrades. Liu Ye relied on the speed of the swift wind escape. After one trip, he had nearly 20 more storage bags in his hand, and he couldn't help showing a hint of joy. After shaking the storage bag in his hand, Liu Ye finally understood why the Demon Slayer Alliance, which brought together all the forces in Yanka domain, had to forcibly recruit monks. The casualty rate was really too terrifying. Liu Ye put the storage bag into his sleeve to avoid the sight of many cultivators, and turned to walk into the camp. When he returned to his temporary residence, the two brothers and sisters from the Huan sect had not returned yet. It was unknown whether they died on the battlefield, or were still fighting for the spoils, or had other things to do. Liu Ye was also happy to be idle. He sat cross-legged on the wooden bed, took out one storage bag after another, and began to count the gains from this battle. After a while, Liu Ye finished the statistics. A total of 18 storage bags contributed nearly 3,000 medium-grade spirit stones and more than 30 magic tools for him, but most of them were first-level magic tools, which had no value to Liu Ye at the moment. There were also a lot of elixirs and talismans, and a small number of second-level elixirs, which must have been prepared by their previous owners for emergency purposes. But unexpectedly, they did not die in the hands of monsters of the same level, but were killed by the aftermath of the Battle of the Nascent Soul. In addition, there were 10 life cards, in which the total merits recorded were more than 180 points. It was already a good harvest. After all, killing a first-level monster only gave 1 merit, and killing a second-level monster only gave 10 to 20 merits. For example, the second-level peak tiger monster killed by Liu Ye is worth 20 merits. If you can kill a giant-level monster, then the merit starts at 500, which is the big deal. Liu Ye took out his life card and took a look. 316 points. Adding these 182 merits, the merits in his hand reached 498 points. Liu Ye put all the spiritual stones and other things in front of him into a storage bag, then got up and went out. Not long after, Liu Ye stopped in front of a big tent. This is the merit exchange place on the battlefield. Liu Ye did not move, turned around and looked to the side, and the first thing that caught his eye was a huge white stone tablet that was 10 feet high and nearly 10 feet wide. On the top of the stone tablet were carved 3 big characters, merit list in a dragon and phoenix style. Even at such a distance, Liu Ya could feel the grand meaning contained in these 3 characters. The person who wrote these characters must be a great cultivator with high cultivation. At this time, the one who was at the top of the list was Yang Qisheng, the contemporary saint of Yin Yang Shengzhuang. After his name, it was written that there were 7,835 merits. The second place below Yang Qisheng had less than 4,000 merits, which was almost double the difference. Liu Ya looked down and actually saw Wen Zai's name. He was ranked 13th at the moment, and his merits were just over 2,000. The merits after that were very small. The Tenzang High Stone Tablet recorded the names and merits of 100 people. The merits of the 100th place were as many as 1,400. Liu Ya retracted his gaze and stepped into the big tent. He wanted to see what these merits could be exchanged for and what the first wonder on the merit list was. Everyone, remember to vote. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone, see you in the next video.